All right. Welcome to Idle Click Podcast, episode 6, the long-awaited episode. It's only been a short
A
year.
year.
Only took
Yeah.
the second Avengers movie to get us back on track. I think Infinity War
Fourth Avengers movie.
but the second like connected. I think Infinity War just traumatized us so much that we didn't want to podcast anymore, and then Endgame solved
Yeah.
those traumas. So
I mean, I wasn't even in the
yeah, that's
Infinity
how
War one.
traumatized you were.
Yeah.
So. And I guess we'll take this second to introduce our guest for the night, Mr. Tyler Disciple T.D. Davis.
That's me. That's me. Yeah, so my name's Tyler. As he said, I also go by Disciple. I stream Counter-Strike, and I'm a nerd, like any of you that probably stumble across this. So we're going to talk about stuff, and I'm probably going to be wrong a lot, but we're going to have fun.
Yep.
Or we'll not have fun and we'll just hate each other afterwards. That's like
That's
I don't like
possible.
you already, so...
You like Taman though because you just met him. Give it
Yeah,
some
he's
time
cool.
though.
He's the homie.
Yeah.
Kitties,
We're
stop.
best friends. You didn't know?
All right, so I guess where should we start? Let's just go. I don't want to do like a. Ooh, we could. Let's do.
What?
Let's switch it around because normally when you watch reviews, they give the rating at the end.
You want to start with the review?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
for your overall score?
Yeah, let's give our ratings at the beginning so people can
Okay.
see right away
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we're sitting on the movie. Well, let's start.
I'll go first.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Just,
I was gonna throw the
I was gonna say,
spotlight right on
someone's gotta
Tyler.
You were
start.
going to
I'll
put me
do
on
it.
the hot seat. I know it.
Yeah. I knew it. But I'll go first, and so you get a little break. I think it was a 9 out of 10.
All right.
Solid 9. I have a few issues with you, but I don't think they negate anything from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Are we giving much detail here or very little?
Very little right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give 2 scores. As a fanboy, it's a 10 out of 10 because I loved all the little callbacks. But if I take a step back and try to look at it objectively, it's probably somewhere like 8 to 8.5 for me. Because it's not without flaws, but it is a really good movie.
Yeah, and I guess as a fanboy, I would probably give it like a 9.5, because it's not a perfect movie, but it's dang near, probably close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And then I think I'm just gonna not give it another rating because I am a fanboy. So
Hey,
I think it's fair.
no shame, you know.
Yeah.
hey, Alaskan 485, thanks for the follow. All right. So, then moving on from that, I think
Yeah.
one thing also we could do, I think that people normally put at the end is like, or if they do it, is like, where would you put this movie in your list of now MCU movies?
I might have to actually think about that one for a second.
Yeah.
It's up there for sure.
That's tough, man. That
It's
is
real
so tough.
tough.
I think for me,
Ooh.
it's definitely top 5. I don't think it's difficult to get top 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It might even be top 3 for me.
And then I was gonna say it's probably top 3, but I don't think you can top Captain America: Winter Soldier for me. That's just one of my favorite movies, period, of all
That's a
time. I
good
think
one.
it's just
Yeah.
not even just a good superhero movie. It's just a good movie.
Yeah.
And so I think it probably sits at number 2. I think for me, number 2. That's where I put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it sits at 3 for me, and I'll go before Chaman now, because I'll
Yeah.
let him think a little bit more, because I obviously knew I was going to ask this. So,
Yeah.
because for me it's going to be Winter Soldier as well, number 1 actually. It's like you said, it's a great movie, and not only a superhero movie, but it's almost as well a political drama. Like it's a great movie.
It's like a spy thriller.
And
Okay.
then behind Winter Soldier for me is going to be the original OG Iron Man.
Yeah.
Without that movie, we wouldn't have an MCU. And I was like 9th grade when it came out. I don't care if it's nostalgia. I don't care, but that movie's great.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's Avengers Endgame. And then from there, it gets kind of confusing. Maybe the original Avengers and then Infinity War. Again, original Avengers because the whole nostalgia thing. It's started it. But
Well, for me, I'm definitely gonna put it in my top 3. Although I'm gonna be a little different, and This would be Civil War is my first one. I think Civil War is my favorite,
Okay.
and then it would be this, and then Infinity War. I think would probably be how I'd rate them all.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite?
Civil War, you said.
Civil War.
Civil War. Okay, I can
Yeah.
respect that. I can respect that. I think kind of piggybacking off what you were saying though, Jordan. Iron Man, the original one, is number 3 for me, and they're really kind of like almost tied for second Endgame and Iron Man, because the end of that movie, you know, Robert Downey Jr. What is the word? Improvising the line, just saying "I am Iron Man," rather than just going with the bodyguard political statement he was supposed to, does set the course for the MCU and really allow them to do a lot with it. Like a lot, like not super different from the comics, but really changes the whole like feel of the movies from like the prototypical like hero saves the world, the end. You know what I mean?
Wait,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
he supposed to not say that, like in the script,
Yeah.
or what?
So
I
the
didn't know
script is
that.
he's put like
Yeah, I didn't either.
my understanding is he was supposed to basically, I don't know the exact line, right, but essentially say Iron Man's a bodyguard just like he does in the comics, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost positive that's the case. And so
Huh.
he improvises that line and like as a joke, but then
They kept it.
and Kevin Feige in an interview
Yeah.
said if he hadn't done that, there might not have been an Iron Man sequel. So like it really like that is an important like
Yeah.
iconic moment
If
in the
if
MCU
he
for
did, like, Iron Man's already my favorite Avenger or whatever, and so if he improvised that, that's even another reason why he's my favorite Avenger, or Robert
that's-
Downey Jr., I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's cool.
All right, so
Dig it.
um,
Cool.
I have my notes actually separated into like the different showings I went to, and then my extra thoughts. So I guess I'm just gonna start off with my first showing notes. The thing from the first showing I noticed right away that I thought was great was the intro, like the start of the movie. It wasn't
Oh,
like
the
with
cold open.
yeah with
Yeah.
Hawkeye and his family.
Yeah.
Like at first, I thought it was maybe like a
Like a
trailer for
or
another
something.
movie.
Yeah, because it was such a cold open. There was no indication like, hey, we're starting the movie. It was just like, and you're going, and you're like, oh, okay.
And it
Am I
had like
supposed
some
to?
shaky cam, like
Yeah, yeah.
it was like I was like, oh, okay, and I thought it was an amazing opening. Um,
Yeah.
I was like, at
Mm.
first I thought maybe they were like a trailer for like a Hawkeye solo movie or something like that they were gonna do, because it was archery, so I kind of assumed it was Hawkeye, and I was like, oh, this is the movie, okay.
Yeah.
I knew it
So,
was the movie. I think there's a trailer clip that shows him standing there, or shows like him showing his daughter how to hold the bow or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
But regardless, with or without that, is a phenomenal, perfect way to open because it makes you feel like the levity of Infinity War instantly again. So like it's been a year, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of us have rewatched it since then, but you know, since it's been in theaters, it's been a year, so it just immediately gets you right back into that. Holy shit! You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
is serious. Like
It
the
really
stakes are
kind of,
still really high. Yeah.
And like
yeah,
actually
it just puts you back there.
and seeing his family get dusted was like really like puts you in the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
what they did right there is such a cool thing. So with the first one, Lila, is that her name? Getting dusted. She goes to get the arrow, and he turns around, and then when he turns back around, or the camera pans back around, you see just ever so slightly some
little
of her
bit.
dust floating away, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't notice it, and so we're all like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "What happened?" I think that's just
Yeah.
like the camera work right there was perfect. Just to do that, just a little bit was nice too.
Yeah.
I guess pausing quick, we did have a couple comments. Alaskan 458. I don't know if it has any connection to you, Chayman. I know.
Probably.
um, the first comment was when we were talking about the last thing was only one that he remembers being only movie that he remembers having a long scene that made him stuck grinning was Endgame. So I think that's when we were talking about our favorite, like where we put it in the list. So I'm not sure where he puts it in his list. And then he also said he had someone gasp audibly behind him just now. I think was when we're talking
was,
about,
From the cold open.
yeah,
Okay.
which I had
Yeah.
people gasp in my theater too. That was especially since it was so quiet, you could like hear like anything.
Oh yeah.
It was great.
I don't know about your guys' theaters, but mine was very audible the entire movie. Like
Oh,
So
my first
people
theater was,
reacted.
and I actually have some complaints with that because, like, I'm fine with like cheering and all that stuff when something cool happens, but I had someone
Yeah,
sitting behind me that every time something was gonna happen, he goes, "Here we go, here we go, here we go."
yeah, that
that's
would
okay.
be
That's
that would
dude.
be
That's
so
douche.
annoying.
Like,
So my first theater was like not audible at all. So like there were some small cheers at like some of the big moments, but like other than that, it was dead silent. So no complaints. Like it's cool because I love audience reaction, so I like the cheers. But I'd much rather go with no one making any sound rather than dealing with what Jordan had to deal with.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
The
no, I
second,
agree. Yeah,
the second viewing, I went in IMAX, which was so sick.
that's how I saw it too. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and then that crowd was a lot more audible, but it was all like the good kinds of audible.
yeah.
So like
I didn't have any
cheering,
problems with mine. Yeah, either.
yeah, which is so I was so
oh,
thankful.
and
I got to enjoy
there
it
was
so
plenty of
much more.
times when people cheered in my theater, which were fine cheering times. My first theater, second theater wasn't very audible. But yeah, so I just thought it was funny. Um, and if anyone else has some other talking points, if not, I'll just keep going with mine. Um,
We're
I'm
trying
just
to
here
like go
so I
through the
don't get
movie.
fined.
yeah, yeah.
We're just kind
Um,
of going through the movie as we like almost chronologically,
I mean,
or
kind of. I mean, I thought of stuff. I'm just these first two will be my first two pages will be more chronologically because they were like as the movie was going on, I was writing notes, and I would like where
okay.
I put the notes, I numbered them so I could put them in order. But my extra
Uh,
thoughts won't be chronological at all. So
are we
Okay.
gonna go into the timeline stuff later?
yeah, yeah, that's
Because I want to
Yeah,
talk,
yeah, we will.
we can go into the
but I
timeline
don't
stuff
want to
later.
jump into that super quick.
Yeah, yeah,
So if we just
No,
want to work through it chronologically, that's fine.
yeah.
sure.
Second thing I put was I wanted to get your guys' take on how you felt about our like present day Thanos being dead within the first 5 minutes.
Man, that caught me off guard real quick.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, because in my mind, as soon as that happened, I was like, where do we go from here? Like, they're like, this. How do we wrap this all up? Also, the fact that they immediately got rid of the stones was like clever and like, and it made sense for Thanos to be like, yeah, I'm done. So now no one else can undo it. So he gets rid of the
Yeah,
stones.
I thought he was gonna like maybe like send them across the galaxy, and then the movie would have been them like going to these different
Having to go back.
places, and
Yeah.
like not like returning them to their original places, but just like sending them to new places, like hiding them pretty much. That's what I thought he was going to do, but because I didn't really think about the stones destroying the stones.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't. Yeah. That was kind of like a thing. We didn't know that that was a possibility. I mean,
Yeah,
it makes sense now that like,
I So what's really cool about him destroying the stones is I think it like really shows like who he is. So it doesn't make him a villain. Like he is a villain, but like
yeah,
it's one of those where he's not just evil incarnate. Like he
yeah.
thinks he's doing the right thing. Like truly believes it and isn't doing it
Hmm.
for personal gain or anything like
yeah,
that.
and that's
So
actually what makes
I
like
think
Thanos one of the better villains that the MCU has
yeah,
produced. Is he's not just like
Oh yeah.
evil for the sake of being evil. Like
everyone else you deal with is like very selfish. I guess Hydra's not selfish. They're kind of, but like they all serve this one organization. Like
Yeah.
he is literally doing what he thinks is best for the entire universe.
Yeah.
He's
And
not
even
trying.
when,
Go ahead.
yeah, it will say even when he's confronted with like, oh, it didn't work, when they go to alternate timeline Thanos, and he's like, oh, it clearly didn't work because people remembered. So he's like, in order to make sure that it does work, I'll just make sure no one remembers.
Yeah, and so I think that's just like, so it definitely caught me off guard. Him,
Mhm.
dying that quick. But I also think like it was cool because it gave you that exact feeling like, what the
Yeah.
hell do we do now? Which is exactly how all the Avengers felt, right? Like it
Yeah.
wasn't going to be this simple, easy cleanup. This now had serious consequences, and so that was really cool for me. I love.
Yeah, that was good.
yeah,
There was a lot of tension in that first couple of scenes, though. I thought like there was a lot of good in that beginning scene, but in the beginning kind of like set up to get Thanos, but then like when there was like that whole ensemble where you had all the different cast there, I kind of felt like everything was kind of restrained. It was kind of like everything was so tight and like maybe just like from like an actor's point of view, like it was very tight, like and it didn't seem as like loose as some of the other uh Marvel movies did.
yeah.
That was my So like I did like the opening, but I did kind of already start to be like something's weird here, and I don't know,
Yeah, I guess
kind of
trillions of people being killed kind of makes you
yeah, like,
not
and
be
I
as
wasn't sure
loose.
if that was like intentional or not, but it was like there was definitely like a tension in like all of those scenes, whether it being like the actors or not, but it was definitely like it was palpable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think at first I wasn't like super happy with them killing Thanos right away because obviously I didn't know what was going to happen later in the movie. So I was like, we
Yeah,
spent all this time like wanting to see Thanos get his like ass kicked, like, and we literally just see him get punched once by Captain Marvel, and then uh, his head gets lopped off by Thor, and I was just like, that wasn't
yeah,
very satisfying. So
Yeah, but I think that's like what's great about that moment is it's not satisfying at all. Like I
yeah,
hate it because
exactly.
I want it to be satisfying, but it's not because like that you feel like the weight of like what they did really lose. Like there is no undoing this super easily, and so
Yeah,
I think like it does make you feel that tension and like it shouldn't leave you satisfied because it doesn't leave any of them satisfied either. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
right. Yeah, no, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
that's why like at first, but then as the movie went on, I came to appreciate it more, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better. Okay.
And
I,
then the 5 year time gap, like right after that, was just kind of also jarring.
yeah,
You're just like, oh wow, like okay, we're done now. Like that's it. Like it really drives home that like that's it, you're done.
I
Now
wonder
you
how
have to
they,
deal with whatever happened.
I wonder how they filmed that. Like, if they filmed
Oh
that
yeah.
part or like almost right when they filmed Infinity War,
Mm-hmm.
because then Scarlett Johansson, like her hair was grown out again. Obviously, she could have been wearing like a wig or something, but I wonder
Yeah.
if like they filmed that right after Infinity War when their hair was still the same and all that stuff, and then um, f- took
I
like a break and
believe
then
they
filmed.
filmed them back to back, but
Yeah,
Did
I was
they?
gonna say I'm pretty sure they filmed them back to back.
Hmm.
Because I know they filmed that movie. They filmed Endgame before they filmed Captain Marvel.
Oh, did
So
they?
yeah. Which is I'm not a fan of Captain Marvel. I did not like her character in this movie at all. But I didn't like the movie Captain Marvel. I
yeah, they
liked
they
the movie
back
Captain
to back.
Marvel, but I didn't like her character.
All right, so I'm gonna skip my point three because it has to do with time travel, and we're gonna hold off until a little bit deeper into the
Yeah, that's a
podcast.
whole
That's
nother
fair.
like
Because I've got a lot of questions and a lot of theories around that. But
So my fourth point is Banner and the Hulk. How?
Professor Hulk.
Yes, Professor Hulk. But did you guys like what they did there?
I love it. I mean, it's the natural end of that character. There's no way, like, if because this is gonna be his last movie, so if we don't end with like either Planet Hulk or, um, Professor Hulk, it's kind of gonna be like a
Wait,
letdown.
do we know that this is his last movie?
Yeah. Every so at the very end of the movie where they have the like all six of like the people, all their slides at the end of the movie, that's all that was showing who's done. So like, yeah,
oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah,
So Thor didn't have a slide, or Chris Hemsworth? I
yeah,
thought
he
he
did.
did, and he's not done.
Yeah, because he's gonna be in at least the beginning of I think
Oh,
the
he's
next
gonna
Guardians
be.
of the Galaxy.
Thor is
Yeah,
even.
he's gonna be the.
Chris Hemsworth has said he wants to do it. Like he would be down to do like three more Thor movies. Even Chris Hemsworth said. So
Oh,
it's
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
well, we know he's no longer Thor, but like as like he's no longer the God of Thunder.
well, he
So
still
he's
is. He's not King of Asgard, but
yeah, that's
he's still Asgardian, and he's still the
but
God of
he's not
Thunder.
this. He's not going to be the same character he was essentially before. Like he's definitely a very different than what he used to be,
See, I think
and he's not going to be on his own solo film anymore either.
well, at first we don't know what they're going to do. Like he could
That's
technically.
true. Like he could, but
Um,
But he's not King of Asgard anymore. They have to find some other like purpose to like drive a solo story.
yeah,
Otherwise, it makes more sense for him to be just like another member of the Guardians or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
which
that.
hmm
I'm fine with.
yeah.
But like, I think before the Guardians, he's probably gonna like lose the weight and pretty much become like Thor Ragnarok Thor again. I feel like.
I hated that so much.
Oh
I was
really?
totally I was totally down with it in the beginning, But like, if you're gearing up for this fight or whatever, like I really expected something to happen, like him to literally just like take off running and then come back like a few scenes later, like ripped or something, just shed it all the way,
So yeah,
or just like strike, like bring lightning down and just be cut again.
yeah, I saw a
Like,
comment that like in the last battle when he like gets struck by lightning and he gets his like armor on or whatever, I thought everyone thought he was just gonna like shed the weight and be strong again.
yeah,
But
No, I
anyway,
think it's just a show. Like it's also a physical representation of like Thor being like, I don't care anymore. Like he's essentially like it's his loss and him giving up.
which I actually have Thor's new look as a point. I I liked it at first, like Tyler said, but I think it might have been a little overdone.
Yeah, no, I can get that.
Like
yeah. So I'm perfectly down with it, like showing the condition he's in because he does feel like he let everyone down, he failed, and so like I totally get that, and like he feels like there's no hope, right, to correct these mistakes that he's made. But then when he gets that hope, I thought that would like bring about a
The
change in his
change,
character.
yeah, yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, it's weird because I guess we don't really know very much about like Asgardian physiology. So
no,
like, does he have to like how does he get it back now? Like, he's probably just
I
got to work out
mean,
like the rest of us, I'm sure.
his mom said eat a salad, so
Yeah,
maybe
that's
he
funny.
does just have to eat healthy. I don't know.
No, yeah,
didn't work out. Yeah, yeah. I definitely shoot. I felt like it was kind of like one of the things where they had the like in the first Infinity War the Hulk thing where he kept saying like no or whatever. I felt like personally I felt like they overplayed that, and felt like kind of
mm.
like that was this movie's version of that.
I I I mean, I know that's an Infinity War topic, but like I didn't feel like that was overdone in Infinity War, especially because we get the payoff of it in this movie. Like we get Professor Hulk in this movie,
And
so like him having to have that like reconciliation from Infinity War, I think it pays off.
going back to that, personally, I feel like anyone that didn't die and hasn't said that they're leaving could still be in movies.
So
I feel like Hulk. I don't think is gonna get a solo movie, but like I feel like he could show up in the next Avengers.
yeah, yeah,
And
it's possible. I just it seemed to be kind of like that all of those characters' swan song. So
yeah, but
yeah,
like I feel like if they were gonna like for sure not use them again, they like would have actually gave them like actual endings. Like they gave Captain America and Iron Man endings.
yeah,
They didn't just
hmm
like show
Yeah.
up at a funeral and say we're done now.
yeah.
um, but I wish.
Well, so like Clint was retired beforehand and
He's
only came back because
he's
his family
definitely
died.
ritired
So
now.
Yeah,
yeah, ain't
he's
no
gonna
way.
retire. But
So I could definitely see a lot of them not returning, but I think, and I don't know because I haven't looked into like, is this so and so's last movie? Um, it's obviously, I think besides Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, it's completely up in the air.
yeah, and other than Clint because
Yeah,
he's retiring. But I
Right.
definitely think Scarlet Witch, which she I don't think had a sign.
she wasn't on this slide. Yeah,
I honestly think the slides were just like the original like six
I
Avengers
think it's
signing
just
it.
the original.
it
Yeah,
was the original six, but all of their contracts ended this movie. So unless they continue
re-sign.
their
Yeah,
yeah, they
which so it's
resigned.
like it's completely
Hmm
up to well, it's kind of completely up to them because now that
Yeah,
he's Professor Hulk, even if Mark Ruffalo didn't want to continue, they could have someone else do it and just CGI Hulk onto that person. It might.
yeah, and yeah,
Um,
Well, I don't know if it's that simple because I'm
yeah,
pretty sure they use like facial reading technology
yeah, of course, but
to
it might look a
make the Hulk look like
little different,
Ruffalo.
yeah.
but
Well, also I think Hulk doesn't really have much of a reason to fight anymore now that he is Professor Hulk. Like he's
Yeah.
like when they did the whole time when they went back and he was like pretending to be mad, like
yeah, he doesn't have a
he
reason.
clearly doesn't have like that heart to be
He
a
doesn't have a
fighter.
reason to like. I don't think he doesn't have the heart to be a fighter. I think he doesn't have a heart to be on a rampage. If something came to the Earth to destroy the Earth, I think he would fight it.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I mean, yeah.
One thing I wish we would have gotten, I like Professor Hulk okay. A lot of people didn't because that's what I saw on Twitter from a lot of people I follow. But I really wish in that last fighting scene we could have seen like a 1v1 moment with the Hulk and Thanos where
yeah.
he doesn't
yeah.
just get straight waxed, you know, at least like he gets some good punches in and gets a little bit
Yeah.
of, you know,
Which
revenge in that regard. That'd have been a cool little
I think
full circle
another
moment.
like I saw this somewhere. I wish they would have taken away from a little bit of the kind of like I don't want to say filler, but more filler moments, like when Ant-Man first came out of the quantum realm in the beginning. You see him like walk around for a little bit, and he goes to, like his daughters, which was
Hmm.
cool to see. But like then he goes to that memorial, or he goes to that memorial first to see like if his daughter died or whatever. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that wasn't really needed, and you could have switched. It's fine to have it, but I feel like you could have switched it out for more of a character building thing, like seeing some of the where Hulk becomes the Professor Hulk thing. Um,
I guess. Yeah. But it's also,
See, so go ahead, sorry. Chick.
I was gonna say, because like none of the other cast have seen Hulk in those 5 years. It's like you definitely get that impression like he's kind of been away, and
yeah,
so
we could
it's
see it though.
jarring for us, yeah, as well.
Yeah, but I would have rather had that switched out for seeing it rather than it being jarring. I don't know. I would like to see the whole like process of him becoming. Um,
Yeah, but then we wouldn't get the process of like, or not process, but we wouldn't get to see through like Ant-Man's eyes how crappy things have become, and that's what that was really supposed to be. Was like someone who
Exactly.
doesn't understand what happened, and they're gonna walk through and they're gonna be like, "What happened? Everything is terrible now."
yeah,
And like
but
that was
I still
kind
feel
of what that
I
was.
feel personally I would have rather had the because I mean I know what happened and I know how crappy it is, so I would have rather had the
Yeah, but I think just because you know that doesn't mean it's not nice to see
Yeah.
another character process it. So like I think
yeah,
because people have
same thing for the Hulk
complained
then.
about complained about the length of the movie a little bit, but I don't know that there's really any good scenes to just cut out.
No,
Um,
yeah.
Going back to what Shaman said, what you see, like Scott thinks he's been out of the, gone for 5 hours, but then he
Yeah,
gets out and realizes that 5 hours doesn't make sense for whatever the hell is going on,
Yeah.
and then he walks by this huge memorial thing. He's like, what, and so I think that really registered. Like that's where it clicks. Like, how long has it been? When he sees his name, he realizes like, okay, they said I'm dead. Like
Yeah.
it's been a
Yeah.
minute, and that's where it like I think
yeah,
that's important because
which is
I
fine.
guess it's not necessary per se, but and you could do that off screen. He just shows up at the facility.
No, I still want to see him
But
show up at his daughter's. I still want to see that part when he
yeah,
like
but
meets up with his daughter, which like I feel like him meeting his daughter and her being going from that little kid to how old she is now
yeah, she
might.
went from like 10 or 11 to like 15 or 16 or
I mean,
Yeah.
so.
if she was yeah,
She's
um,
11, so she's 16
yeah, 16 or
ish.
17.
But
Um,
that scene doesn't make sense if you don't have the two preceding scenes. If I'm going, what's
Right.
going on,
it
showing
does
up at the thing.
me though. Like he can show up and be like Hope, and if you know who Hope is, it still makes sense to me. Like, and that still shows to him like how crazy long it's been. It's only felt like 5 hours to him, and his daughter went from 11 to 16 or 17 years old.
I think it could have been more jarring if there wasn't those scenes leading up to it, and so it would have felt odd when he just like Hope, like
So
if
it
we
would have
didn't
been
get the
more.
context that he
So
knows.
we would have felt the jarringness that he felt then, just like we felt the jarringness that the Avengers felt when they see
It's a
Hulk
different
randomly.
kind of jarringness because it's for like that scene. It's not about it being jarring. It's about like the overwhelming sensation of like holy crap, things are fucked,
And
and like
I
him
don't
like
think
coming to
seeing
terms with that.
Hulk just randomly was
I'm with
supposed to be
Shaman.
like jarring though. Like they did it almost for like a comedy aspect. They even had like the people
Oh,
come up and like take pictures with him. So I still think
yeah.
seeing like the process of him becoming like having him like having these like almost conversations with Hulk, coming to terms with Hulk would have been cool.
I think that would have happened over like it would have taken so long that like we wouldn't have been able to see it though.
Yeah,
Like
because
It
he
could have
says he
just been
spent.
jump cuts.
Yeah, I just don't think
Or
it's necessary.
it also wouldn't have been interesting. I think you think it would be interesting. It'd probably be interesting to read. It'd be really boring to watch on screen though. Like it'd just be like him monologuing to himself, and that's it.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like and
it'd be
then
just as interesting as someone walking down the street, in my opinion.
sure. I mean, I liked those Ant-Man scenes, and I'm not a fan of Ant-Man, so
And I like
I,
Ant-Man, and I didn't really like those scenes. I don't think they were
yeah,
bad.
which is weird, but all right, yeah.
I didn't think they were bad, but I just think they were like
I think they set the tone for that movie really well. Like
if any
that, and combined with the cold open, like
if
really set the
if I
tone of what's
wanted
going.
to add Well, I mean that was like pretty little ways into the movie when that went, because that was
It's
after like
not.
the whole
So it's after the
Thor.
time jump.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a little bit after the time
So
jump too, because it doesn't at time jump and then it goes originally to Scarlet at the base, or does
mhm.
it time jump and go
It's
to
like a
that first?
2-minute scene where she's like being the new head of Shield or whatever.
It's a little
Whatever
bit
they are.
longer than.
Yeah.
No, it goes to Ant-Man first, I think, because
Well, it shows him get out, and then it cuts to them, and then it goes back to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think what the Ant-Man scenes do really well is we're still feeling the sense of like what, like, because we're first of all, the Thanos thing happens. We're like, well, what the hell do they do now? And then you make the
Mhm.
5-year time jump. We're in the same position as Scott. It's like, what the hell's going
Yeah.
on? What happened?
He's-
Like, what has happened now? Since then. Obviously, Scott doesn't even know about the dusting, but like for us, his confusion is like shared in like the audience confusion too. And I think it really like sets that up really well. Like, what in the world? You know what I mean? Just kind of like this,
yeah, I
this
didn't
sense of
I didn't
being
dislike
lost.
those scenes. It's more the idea of I wanted to know a little bit more about Hulk, and that was like the only scene I could think of that you could shorten or something like that to get some more of the Hulk stuff.
Mm.
It's already 3 hours and 2 minutes. Like, what's another 5 minutes? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
if they
so
really want
like if they want like just add it on, that's the
Yeah.
in my ideal world they just add it on. I mean, I would have sat in that theater. I mean, I did sit in the theater for 6 hours and 2 minutes across 2 days watching the same movie. I would have sat in the theater for 6 hours one day and watched even a longer movie. Like I don't care about length.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was those
But I
theaters
also
running that
think
55-hour Marvel marathon. I would have
oh
gone to
my
that if I could have. There was like three of them. It was like New York, DC, and Chicago or some, or New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago or something. And they like literally gave out a hygiene bag and a blanket.
Oh my gosh.
I think part of it too is just timeline wise, that would be like right in the middle of the 5-year gap. So then like what you time jump a year and a half, show that, and then you time jump again. Or you time jump and then
Fine.
you flash back, which doesn't
I want
make
a
sense
bonus
either,
scene.
I
So
mean,
I
that could
think
be like a DVD extra, man. I don't
could
know.
be. You never
Yeah.
know.
I just don't think it'd be that interesting. So like,
That's where it
I
goes back.
like.
I
Yeah.
think it's so really good. Like analogy is Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix. The longest book is the shortest movie, with the exception one of the Deathly Hollows is actually
Yeah.
shorter, but that's
Yeah.
2 movies from one book. That's the longest book, but most of that doesn't transfer to screen well
Mm.
because it's just not interesting to watch, but it's interesting to read. You know what I mean? Like, because Order of Phoenix is one of my favorite books. Not to bring
I
in
agree. No, I
a
agree.
totally different series, but so like some things like seem interesting and like maybe it would work in a TV show or a book, but doesn't make sense in a film where you are pretty limited with time. Obviously, that they weren't super limited; they could do what they want with this one, I
Yeah.
think, and would have crushed no matter what. I just think it's one of those things that just doesn't translate to screen as
See,
well as
I don't
you might
like.
hope.
Yeah, but it just depends on how they do it, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like you could even get a little like you could even show the final one where he turns into like Professor Hulk, and I would have still been a smidge smidge happy. I mean, like like I said, I liked the scenes that we got, but I was just saying like that was one scene that I like. It just him becoming Professor Hulk randomly was like, oh, he's Hulk and he's big and green and talks now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
he's.
mean,
It's basically, hey, I figured my stuff out. Like that's really what it
yeah,
was.
I think another thing to do would have been like, because Infinity War, I know he says it towards the end, like Hulk, we got some stuff to figure out, man.
Yes.
Is like saying that right before the time jump, and then like, you could even open the 5-year, not open it, but like when you go back and see Hulk again, it's like, oh, they figured it out. Like, and you don't show it, but like it makes a little more sense than just abruptly seeing
Yeah.
Professor
So
Hulk.
and like
Yeah.
obviously like if I'm nitpicking stuff like that with the movie, it's a good movie because that means there isn't any like huge things wrong with it. So
needy.
I have some things that I really dislike, but we can get to those way later.
all right.
I'm very interested to hear this.
And then I already went. We kind of talked about Thor's new look already, so I could skip that one. Oh, here's one. This kind of like this was during the when they originally go try to get Tony's help and he's very hesitant. I
Oh,
actually
right.
like that they did that really like a lot
It was
because like
good.
yeah like they
Yeah.
set it up really well like and showed it from
Mhm.
Tony's side why he would be hesitant. Like I wrote like
Yeah, yeah.
understand why Tony's hesitant to help because I'm sure there's some people out there that were like, come on Tony, like you can help these guys, like just help him. But
Yeah, right, yeah.
I like that he was saying and that
Well, and then it's very on card for Tony to be hesitant up front and then turn around and like figure it out.
yeah.
Yep.
I
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I love
like
the scene
because
where
it eats away.
they're sitting on
Eats
the
away.
porch and they're like talking to him, like trying to convince him, and the daughter comes out like, "Mom told me to come save you," and she says it loud enough that like they could definitely hear it.
Yeah. I'm saved. Thank you.
Oh my god. I also that character, that she was great. I
Morgan.
love
Yeah,
Morgan.
Robert
Yeah.
Downey
she did.
Jr.
Oh,
interacted with, I don't know who the child actor is, but
yeah.
interacted with that child actor
Morgan
very good.
Stark.
But
Mhm.
yeah, like Chayman said before we did the podcast, this was not a very good weekend for Starks.
No, no, it was not.
Well, as it turns out, not as bad as we thought.
I mean, it was still kind of bad.
It wasn't great, but they only
I'll-
went what 1 for 4.
There's
What
also
was
a
the word on that?
huge cleanup in Game of Thrones after. Did you see those walls?
Oh, goodness. Doesn't matter. They're marching south now. I'm sure.
All right, so
That's off. That's off topic. I do not want to get off on that tangent. I won't stop.
um, then skipping Thor's new look, I put seeing the old places while they were collecting the stones was really cool.
that was cool.
I
Especially because they reshot some of those old scenes, like
Yeah,
old places, and like we got to see it from an angle we didn't get to see in those actual movies.
Yeah, that
So,
was
like,
really cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
and like seeing the ancient one at like the New York
Yes.
sanctum during the like fight. Like I never thought about like
Yeah.
what was this person like. You always asked like
Mhm.
during like Spider-Man or something like that. Like why don't you just call the other Avengers or whatever? Like
Yeah.
but you never actually
Mhm.
get to see it. But it was cool to get to see like someone outside of the MCU doing something like that you didn't know, but doing something during that invasion.
Yeah. Not outside the MCU, but
Or
outside of.
outside of the MCU at the time.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like.
Come out?
The ancient one was on top of the New York
Oh,
sanctum,
yeah,
like
that was
killing the
an
Chitauri as they were
interesting
flying
scene.
over, and I thought it was really cool seeing like,
Yeah.
and then
And it makes sense too.
yeah, this falls under like the same umbrella, the elevator scene, where Steve got
Yes.
the
Mhm.
Mind Stone. I loved that. Like originally when he walked in the elevator, I was like, yes, get to see another elevator kick like beat down, and then
Yeah.
Hail Hydra. Oh, I'll just give you this.
So such a good like subversion of expectation. Just very.
Yes,
like,
that was
oh.
perfect. Like it was so well done because that's exactly what you're expecting is this just
Yep.
all out brawl in the elevator.
It's
But what you
shot the
get is
same way
exact
too.
Opposite. Yeah, it's shot identical. That's what they did. They did so many cool things with like callbacks, to like
Yeah.
one-liner callbacks, just
Yep.
or just like shooting scenes the exact same way.
Which
then he
actually-
flips it and goes Hail Hydra. That was
That
awesome.
was, and then his like little smirk when he's walking out was like, oh, so
That
good.
scene of him fighting himself when he has the Mind Stone is apparently a callback
Yes.
to a deleted scene where Loki turns into Captain America. I haven't went and
Oh.
I have not because when they see
That
each
is
other,
America's ass.
he when they see each
Yeah,
other,
that was so good.
the past Captain America goes, "I have Loki 7th floor or whatever," right?
Yeah.
And there's a scene, like a deleted scene that's similar, and that's just a callback to that. I haven't seen the deleted scene. I was just watching YouTube videos about like Easter eggs or whatever, and that was a callback. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then
That's pretty sweet.
I guess I do have this in my extra thoughts area. I think it'd be cool if they released like Infinity War saga, like entire like 22 movies saga, right? Which that would be super expensive, but
Yeah.
if they went back and like reshot some of the scenes and then like added now since this has happened some little like Easter eggs into like for instance when they're in the tower after they beat Loki and he's like locked up, if they add just like
future
They
Robert
can't.
Downey.
like a shadow.
But they can't
Why?
because that didn't happen.
But it did now.
but it
But
didn't though.
it didn't. So
It
that's
didn't. It
the.
never happened.
There are so many timeline problems with
See,
this movie.
I
No, it's super easy. The whole like it's
we'll talk
the
about this
timeline-
later, but
we can talk about the timeline thing later, but it's actually a lot simpler than people think it is.
see, I think
I
every
agree
time you go
until I
into
start thinking it.
every time you go
in
into the past, it
long-term.
makes a alternate timeline, and that's what I think, and that's what a lot of people on YouTube think too.
But that's not. They literally say
I
that
don't think
that's
that's
not what
right.
happened
Yeah, precisely.
in the movie. They
No,
literally say
Ancient One
that's
only
not
talks about the Infinity Stones, and I don't think
Mhm.
she specifically knows all about that. But anyway,
She
she
literally has the time stone. If
Yeah, but-
anyone knows, it's
but she said like when you take a time stone out, it creates a branch, and that branch will go to become disastrous because it no longer has a time stone. And when you bring
Right.
it back, it's no longer disastrous because they have that time stone again. Not that the branch like is completely gone.
No, but what? Yeah,
Yes,
but
she
what
did-
Hulk
that's what she
says
said.
is not. Yeah, it completely. He said it completely erases it. It doesn't fix it.
Yeah. It's gone.
So here's my problem. We can kind of flesh this out later. If that's the case, when they return the Infinity Stones back, then the battle we see never happens. That has to be the case.
Nope, because
doesn't
also
work,
no,
which is
because
another problem.
Hulk explains why that's not true. Because Hulk says that in our timeline, whatever they do is technically the future, is
Right.
their present. So like, if you go back in time, you're not actually going back in time. You're just going through that event in your present.
All right, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I could go on about this for hours because I have dissected every theory that's on the internet about it, read like the exact quotes of Hulk trying to figure out exactly what he's saying, but I don't
Yeah.
think that works in the long term. That's my problem. But anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
The next I have the Black Widow and Hawkeye fight over who's gonna make the sacrifice. I loved that.
That was
Um,
good.
Because normally in like situations like that, you have people like fighting over why they should be the ones to live and not being why they should be the ones to die. And I enjoyed that difference.
Yeah.
I also
was
thought
good.
it was 100% going to be Hawkeye right when he shot the explosive arrow and she was on the ground, and then we get like that the scene where he's like over the edge and out of nowhere you see her jump, hit him, and like shoot the thing.
That was another really great subversion of expectation, like you were
Yeah.
talking about with the elevator scene. I really thought in that moment, because I'm a sucker for things like this, she was gonna say something like, "I have red on my ledger" right before she like falls, because like
Oh, yeah.
her whole goal
Yeah.
was like wiping out everything she's done wrong. And it's like I love all those little like one-liner callbacks. I think that would have been like
Yeah.
so cool to see in that scene. Like even if she's not like when she was about to fall or anything, even if she said that like as a rationalization is why she should be the one to sacrifice herself.
Right. Yeah.
That would have been really cool, but it's not necessary by any means. It's just something like the fan in me really wanted. But yeah, I think it was really cool. Because exactly what you're saying. As soon as he shot the arrow, I was like, "No, Clint, you can't. You have a family." Like,
yeah, like he's
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
out here.
I mean, Natasha does too. It's the Avengers, but like,
Yeah. But
she would never want him to.
And also, I think it's also more of a meaningful death for Natasha. Like I was very like I was torn up by it, but I'm glad as like a story perspective that it was Natasha because it means more to everybody. Not to say that like Clint would be like a meaningless death, but like
they're like, oh,
it
Clint's
means
gone. Too bad.
I mean,
it's more meaningful that like she sacrifices herself.
in a weird sense, like she is the soul of that team from the perspective of she's always the one trying to get them to be more than just their superpowers. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like getting Cap to get back into the dating game,
yeah.
falling in love with, Bruce Banner and, trying to get him to be more than just the split between the Hulk and Bruce and all these things. And so I agree, it makes sense. Like it is more meaningful
That's
because
definitely who.
obviously Clint, it hurts when if Clint does it because he has his family, but it means less to the straight up Avengers because like he's not as directly involved in each one of their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice. I think it was well done, and it wasn't like
I cried.
Oh yeah, I cried multiple times at this movie.
So I cried there, and then I just don't think I ever really fully stopped crying. And not all of it was sad. some was just so much emotions happening that my body
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. It was already crying, so it just kept.
Yeah, as soon as the first one came out, I was like, and I'm done. Like that was it. That was for the rest of the movie. My eyes hurt. Like
Yeah.
that was it. But for me, it wasn't that. It wasn't quite that scene. It was it it was actually like the whole fight, the whole like end fight, was where I lost it. And like the whole, because Cap's always been my favorite character. So like
Yep. Me too.
when he, like when everyone gets destroyed and it's him and that was what got me for some reason. But
when he stands back up with half a shield,
yeah, that
and
was
buckles down. That's such a good moment. What I really expected right there is another thing. Like I love stupid callbacks. Like I can do this all day.
Yeah,
Like he's literally standing against an entire army, and I feel like that's what like he was about to say it, and then you get the Sam coming through, and I was like,
I think actually what they did is they had that pregnant pause there where it was you're saying it, like you as the audience,
100%.
you're gonna say
everyone
it
thought
because we've already called it back.
Yeah.
Even in this movie, it was already called back because when
that's
they
what
were
I'm saying,
fighting
like,
together.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, that was a really good moment too. And then
So
I loved going back to that scene real quick.
Yeah.
Using the Bucky still alive to win that fight.
Oh
Was
yeah.
perfect because that's a good callback to Civil War, where he said Bucky and I lost it. You talk about should have clocked the bomb vest a long time ago.
Right.
At least it's the thing that leads to the whole court situation. So
Yeah.
he knows like how his former self would react to that. So that was a cool moment.
Yeah, that was good.
Is that good catch up, Jordan?
So then going back to the I guess the final like fight scene. One of
I mean,
my
we skipped over a lot.
Yeah, I mean this is just
It's fine.
This is my notes from my first screening, and that's actually where I went to next. One of my like kind of bigger gripes, and this goes back to Thor, is like I feel like they nerfed Thor like pretty hardcore, cause like Thanos was like fighting him just fine, but at the end of Infinity War, Thor throws Stormbreaker through literally the full power of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And like
it's because it's made out of whatever metal.
Yeah, but
and
now
so, like,
it's from Nidavellir. It's such a hard word.
Nidavellir.
Yeah, but there's a specific metal that they call it, and it starts with like you are, but
either way, but like now Thanos without the Infinity Gauntlet, and Thor is like getting bodied by him.
Well, because the only power that like the Nidavellir X had was that it was immune to the Infinities.
Yeah, so like
that's why it was able to hit Thanos.
Yeah, so because they discuss it doesn't, they never address this directly in the movies, but that axe is made to negate as much of the power of the Infinity Stones as it can. And then in one of the interviews, the Russo brothers said, I don't know how I ended up watching this many interviews, but I did.
I watched them too, so I don't.
They talked about Thanos didn't know what was coming at him, so he couldn't properly use the stones to negate it either. So that's a big factor. But I'll agree, which I think maybe calls back to how out of shape he is. I'm not sure, if that's a factor or not.
I mean,
I don't think his heart's in it too. So I think like his power does seem to come from like his own self-worth, and like
I feel like at the end his heart,
I
feel like at the end his heart was in it though, because he was like gets his armor on and he was like, all right, let's kick this guy's ass properly this time, and like he was pretty in it at the end.
I disagree, only because he gave up being the king of Asgard. Like he clearly doesn't view himself as that person anymore.
Yeah,
so I think
exactly, because he views him as the self thing that he wants to be now. That's what he says at the end. Even like now, I'm gonna be the thing that I want to be. Like his heart is more in it now. I feel like than like
I think his heart is in a different place. I think
but I don't think like he could have literally taken that thing and thrown it at Thanos when he was sitting on the ground, like sitting on that stump, and just killed him right there.
No, because Thanos had his weapon at that time.
He did not though. When they first walked up, he was just sitting on the ground with his weapon and
we know he has really good reflexes. Like he's a very quick guy. Thanos. He is, even though he doesn't look it.
Yeah,
we know him.
I know he's quick, but I still think they hard nerfed Thor. Like
Well, you can also tell mentally he's in a different place too. So like, I
I
think
think it's one of the big reasons we never get to see Thor return to full like bulked out form.
yeah,
Is because like he's not gonna body Thanos like we thought he would in Infinity War. And then the other thing is the future Thanos we see. It's another thing they talk about. The reason he takes off his armor, and like basically the Russo brothers talk about this, is like in Infinity War he's on this holy conquest, if you will. Like
Mhm.
he's not killing just to kill.
Yeah,
Like he's not on a conquest anymore.
yeah,
He knows where every single stone is. He's grabbing the stone, and whatever it takes to do that, he's doing, but nothing more, nothing less. So as soon as he gets the stones, like it doesn't matter if he gets stabbed in the heart, as long as he can still snap his fingers. Nothing else matters to him at that point.
yeah,
And like I think you see that with the destiny fulfilled statement after his head gets
Yeah.
chopped off. Like nothing matters to Thanos but completing his mission. So there's no personal stake for him in Infinity War, so he's not fighting as aggressively and offensively against
Yes.
the
Yeah.
guys.
yeah, but
He also clearly relies on his whatever his group is called in Infinity War.
His army, whatever.
Black Hand.
Yeah, whatever those. No, Black Hand is one guy.
What?
I thought.
No, his entire group is the Black Hand, and then
Oh,
you have
okay.
like Corpus Glaive or whatever his name is.
I thought
um,
Black Hand was the like creepy long fingered dude, but
You are outside of my pay grade.
Ebony
Yeah.
Maw's the wizard guy.
oh, that's Ebony Moth. That's his name. Yeah.
So I think what you see is like he feels personally attacked by these guys trying to
Right.
take his opportunity away.
I'm
to
not
fix
talking
everything.
about like during the fight. Like I understand like during the fight he's a good fighter and he can hold his own still against Thor. I'm just talking about like if they really
When else
wanted
do we
to
see him nerfed? Like, other than how would you see him nerfed other than when he's fighting?
like he could have literally walked up and thrown Stormbreaker at him and just killed him.
Well,
He was sitting on a
Yeah, but
stump
that
not
makes for
looking.
boring movie.
Yeah, but
You want
all I'm
dialogue
saying
with
is
that
like so then they
dialogue?
should at least gave him some like licks in the fight then. Like we literally go from
Okay.
Thor being like hella strong at the end of Infinity War to like
Yeah, so I think that
except for
battle
we know that
really-
Thanos, when he's not fully trying, can one-on-one and beat Hulk. So like him one-on-one and beating Thor is not that
well
crazy.
actually there's actually most theories that the reason he beats Hulk is because he fights like with like smarts and not just strength. Like
Yes, but we also know he's strong enough to knock the fuck out of Hulk.
yeah,
Which
he
is
does have the power stone at that
Thor
point,
is
too.
very strong.
Sure, but he doesn't use it. If you go watch that scene again, he does not use it in that scene.
Yeah, I don't know if it would naturally give him more power or anything like that at all. This is my only
Thor is very
Oh, sure.
Thor is
Yeah.
very strong too, and we
I don't
see
know,
him
like passive.
knock around
Yeah,
Hulk too. So all I'm saying is like I just felt like they nerfed him for plot armor because
I disagree. I mean, I get why you would say that, but I just think that I think Thor's mentality is really what it is. I don't think it's
so
like,
they nerfed him.
oh, we need him. No, I think he nerfed himself more than anything.
I mean,
like,
So I think we all agree he was
They-
nerfed.
yeah,
If
he has.
you will.
Yeah,
He is not as powerful in this movie as he was in Infinity War.
yes, yeah,
I don't think anyone's arguing against that.
no,
But I don't think they nerfed him. Like, I mean, I guess whatever you want to say, I think they explained his reason for nerfing by like,
Yeah.
he's been 5 years out of combat. Like he's literally just playing video games, watching cable all day, getting fat,
yeah.
right? And so he's not fighting, he's not training, he's not even like his mental state's like in such a different place. And so
He cries.
yes, he's nerfed, and you can call it for plot armor or whatever, but I think like he got defeated, he got wrecked, and now he feels bad about it. And it's hard to come out of like dealing with things like that, I guess. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
He's in a 5-year retirement.
but
so,
I just
like,
feel like at the end, like when they were like, all right, let's kick this guy's ass, they could at least like let Thor get some good
I mean, he did. He
Yeah.
did.
really fight that.
Still able to go toe to toe with him.
Yeah, and then he got held on the ground and like almost killed, and then Cap had to save him.
Yeah, but Thanos is a bad. Like I think
Oh, I know
Thanos
Thanos is
can-
strong.
playing the power.
He
of
can
Thanos.
defeat anyone one-on-one.
Yeah,
Like Thanos.
I
how strong
agree,
he is.
but I just not anyone because I feel
I don't think you agree. Who wins a straight up 1v1, Thor or Thanos?
Thanos does
Like
just
full power Thor.
old like Infinity War.
Infinity War Thor.
with Stormbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's the Thor with Stormbreaker, full
See,
power Thor.
I
disagree.
think
I,
I think Thor might edge him out, maybe, but I don't think he does.
I think he just
If we get Endgame Thanos versus Infinity War Thor, it's way closer than I think you realize, or like what you're saying.
yeah, it'll be close, but I think Thor wins because I mean, if he
Yeah,
gets
so if
literally
it's close, and then you have
he
fat out of shape Thor, it's not close anymore. It's tipped in the
and
favor
I
of
don't I
Thanos.
didn't say I want Thor to win. I just what I said is I think they nerfed Thor because he did literally jack shit. He goes,
You're wrong. We're right. No, I'm just kidding. I get what you're saying.
I get it.
do
I
not
just I
agree.
think he had more hits in than you remember, or maybe you thought. But
I don't think he did. He went literally. Cap got knocked down first, and then it went to Thor, and Thor
Mhm.
fought with him for like a little bit, and then Thanos put him on the ground and started putting Stormbreaker into his chest, and then Cap saved Thor with Mjolnir.
Which, by the way, was fucking sick.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
that written down later. But
that I cheered for that scene.
oh yeah,
So-
That was so good.
When they show the hammer on the ground,
Yeah.
I like almost knew what was happening. So when
Yeah.
they saw the hammer on the
same.
ground, I was like, oh, he's about to call it back to him. But then when it started levitating really slowly, I was like, oh, that's not going back to, because like
Yep.
Thor is so comfortable controlling that hammer, it immediately responds to him. You know,
Mhm.
we haven't like since the first Thor movie really seen that thing move slowly at all. You know, when Thor's fighting, right? And so when it starts to move that slow, like I was like, it's finally happening. Like
Yeah.
this is it.
so like
And
but going back anyway, what I think you guys are mistaken is like you think I'm saying Thor should have won. I'm saying Thor should have done better is what I'm saying. So I don't think he
Yeah,
should have
no,
won.
I know that's what you're saying, and I'm
Yeah.
saying I think he did as good as he could have.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
right.
think
He did
there's-
as good as the directors made him do.
well, like I don't know, you can make like that argument for every single fight ever. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
like
why do Peter Parker and Tony Stark get to hug each other in the middle of the battle? Because the directors wanted to.
yeah,
Like
no, but
in a
what
real
I'm
battle, no one's
like
doing any
no
of
one
those
else in the
things.
Avengers have we seen literally almost
Uh.
kill Thanos other than Thor, which he just threw his shit at him, which he could have done it again. Is all I'm saying. They could even like let Thor like throw it and almost hit him at least or something like.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. They could have done some more with it. I'm not going to deny that, but like I don't think he wins. I don't think it. I think it's a minor complaint. I think you're nitpicking.
Yeah.
You're right,
I
and I
think the-
literally just said if we're talking
Yeah.
about things like this, that means it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But,
No, I
but-
think that fight
But
scene
thankfully,
hasn't
the Avengers
Please,
snapped and brought us back, so I can have opinions of my own.
Can you though?
Obviously, because I'm not just not the obviously because I'm not just the crowd saying that.
But I like being in the middle, so I don't want to leave and not be in the middle when
When you come back, yeah.
I.
No, I think he like that fight played out logically. I don't think there was anything inconsistent about that fight.
Yeah, sure. Maybe like you give like Thor 2 good like hits with the hammer, Stormbreaker, or something. But like,
I thought
I
he
think
did, and
it's-
so maybe I might be missing.
yeah, I
one.
think he gets like 1 good hit with the hammer. My thing is, if you give him a really good hit with Stormbreaker, like there's no like blow you deliver with that axe that isn't a fatal one. You know,
Yeah.
so that's kind of the problem with that weapon, in my opinion. And like an extended is you either, and the same thing with like Thanos's like double-edged blade thing that's freaking sick.
Yeah.
Like if he delivers a blow with that, that person dies.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's all I'm
Or
really
almost
saying. Like
almost always dies. So
by setting up Thor up in Infinity War with this badass weapon, like this thing is super strong apparently, and then they come into the
Yeah.
fight and it's just like any other weapon. Is all I'm saying.
yeah, but I mean, I think Thanos has got a pretty badass weapon. He's pretty fucking strong too.
Yeah, but
so.
is it
Yeah.
formed
'Cause
in
we
Nidav-
had-
is it
we had-
formed in Nidavellir? I don't think so. With
We
have
Uru
no
metal
idea.
or
We
whatever.
have no idea. It could 100% be formed there.
It could have been.
I mean,
well, actually it has to be because it broke the shield.
It broke the shield, so it's stronger than vibranium.
Doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's
We know that
formed in
much.
Nidavellir. But
It doesn't
also,
make
at this time of old Thanos, Nidavellir would have been protected by Odin anyway. That's why he waited so long to go to, like,
True.
yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just saying we know that of the power scale of how powerful it is, it broke vibranium.
I mean, that could
So
just-
it's got to be crazy.
that could just go back
It's-
to Thanos being hella strong and not anything to do with the weapon. Like, you could argue that, like,
Well, no, because it
You
doesn't
could-
matter how strong you are if like that if vibranium's stronger than the metal that the sword is made out of, the sword will break.
Yeah.
So like Thanos would just break his sword on the shield, or the
Yeah,
shield would
just
fall.
I'm
like,
just
to the
saying,
ground.
like
So
I'm pretty sure that like the Infinity Gauntlet would probably be stronger than Thanos' weapon, and that's why he wants or used the Infinity Gauntlet to fight.
and I think that goes back to we get a nerfed Thanos really in Infinity War. Because he like the Russo brothers talk about in their interview, he's on this holy quest. He's not on this warpath that we see in Endgame. You know, like
Right.
he's over those.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
I guess 4 years is the time gap between the snap and the Thanos we see. Is that right?
Yeah, 2014.
Because it's 9 years total. So if you
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in that 4 years, and really like that last year, what we see is him going from this warpath, like whatever, Alexander the Great warpath thing, to like I can obtain the stones and complete my mission without any more like excessive bloodshed, and that's what he strives to do, rather than I'm just gonna go fucking rip planets apart. Like that's the Thanos we get to see in Endgame. We didn't see that Thanos in Infinity War. So like we see a stronger Thanos in Endgame and a weaker Thor versus a stronger Thor, weaker Thanos. So I think that's why, like, so I think when you consider those two factors, that's why it's not as easy as you think. I feel like for Thor to just go ham on Thanos and really like get in a lot of good
you're
blows.
going back to the wanting Thor to win, which
ham's too far.
I
went too far. I exaggerated what you're saying. I'm just saying, I think like you have like both of them flip. So you have a nerfed Thanos turn to the best, like the strongest version of Thanos.
Yeah.
Versus strongest Thor into a nerfed Thor. So that's kind of why the fight goes the way it does.
See,
that's a good point.
I think I
didn't actually think that.
Brought Thor down a little bit because this, like, obviously if Thor wins, you don't have the sacrifice from Iron Man later. Like if Thor just beats him or whatever, like there's no reason for Iron Man to sacrifice him and make the ultimate sacrifice or whatever. And then also we're gonna be like seeing Thor in other movies, so this isn't his last movie. So this wasn't really like Thor's big moment anyway. Like,
yeah, and I think too it gives him like a longer redemption arc.
Yeah, and like I didn't
movie.
say like I also originally my original point was like I just think they nerfed Thor. I didn't say they did a bad thing particularly. Like I just think that they did it.
Oh, okay. See, it kind of came off like maybe that was just a...
Thor by far isn't my favorite character.
Yeah.
Like it's whatever.
No, I think like
Iron Man's my favorite Avenger. So by them not having Thor just be better, I got to see a better moment from my favorite Avenger. So
yeah.
The way you presented it, it felt like you were saying like he should have beat Thanos, like, and then you backtracked that and corrected yourself or whatever. But like the way it was originally presented, that's kind of what
I think the correct saying would be I clarified because I never actually said.
Not backtracked, clarified. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Okay, whatever. I'm here to debate semantics. I'm just explaining.
All right.
I'm so much smarter than you are.
Now that we're talking about things that we don't like about the movie,
hit me with your best shot.
I hate Captain Marvel. I hate every scene that she was in. She's, and I don't know, maybe it's just like the way that they wrote her, or maybe it's Brie Larson the way she acted. I was like, I didn't like her. I didn't find her likable, and I didn't. Oh, like I also don't like the actress Brie Larson, so like I'm kind of already biased in that regard.
So I have no opinion on Brie Larson as a person.
I did not until I started watching interviews.
And I haven't watched any of her interviews because Captain Marvel interested me because I was curious how I was going to explain something set in 95 or whatever. How something set in the 90s doesn't, I
was excited.
Fury never calls her for these other things, like would these not be emergencies? Like I get Infinity War's like the emergency of emergencies, but like we're saying none of these other things are
the
like
Earth being invaded by Chitauri. This isn't an emergency, Nick.
Hey, there's an alien invasion. Nah.
There's literally busy, a super intelligent AI about to drop an entire city on the planet and kill us all. This isn't an emergency.
Nah, it's fine. Like, so what I like though is I didn't dislike Captain Marvel it was one of the it's one of the weakest MCU movies.
I
It's
think
not
the movie
terrible.
was better, but I'm talking about specifically like the character of
No, I
Captain
know. I was
Marvel.
going to kind of go into that. So what I really like what they did, looking at the bright side of things, is she hasn't been on this 10-year journey with us,
Yeah.
right? So like I understand Captain Marvel predates most of the Avengers except for Captain America.
Yeah.
But like she hasn't, like her character hasn't been involved for 10 years like Iron Man, Cap, and the Hulk and everybody have been.
Yeah.
So using her sparingly
Was good.
I really
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. We talked about
Because
that.
like I have nothing wrong with
She
the
shouldn't
character
steal the
per
show.
se, but like I didn't want her to steal the show because like
Yeah. I was worried that
there was a
gonna
reason they left only the original Avengers alive after the snap. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and
Yep.
so like
I did, however, like when her and Thanos, like when they're going toe to toe, and Thanos headbutts her,
absolutely.
and then it like does absolutely nothing, and he's like, "Oh
I
shit!"
hate that. I absolutely hate that scene.
And then he had to
She's
take
so
the Infinity Gauntlet, and yeah, she's like one of the most overpowered superheroes of all time. Like,
because she's not in the comics, and that's the thing is they upped her power for the movie. Because like in the comics she's not any more powerful than like Thor or anything.
see,
like
like
that.
I've heard from people that she's in the comics, she's super strong. Apparently, that's like,
I mean, I like her in the
She can
comics
literally
too. So like,
fly through space just because she feels like it, which is crazy.
I mean, yes, yeah, but I mean,
six times the speed of
in
light.
terms of like the characters in Marvel comics, that's not anything insane in like
That's
flying through
fair.
space. Like
But
she
yeah.
can't 1v1 Thanos in that because that happened in the comics and she lost. So like, it's weird that they upped her power for the movies.
I think she still ends up losing that 1v1, right?
Well,
just
barely.
he takes the power
just
stone. He takes the power stone and
that's right,
hits
that's
her
right.
away. So
Yeah.
without the power
He
stone,
also does single-handedly stop him from snapping a second time.
Yeah.
A lot of it was weird because like he shouldn't necessarily know who Captain Marvel is, and so when she shows up and they aim all the guns at her, like, but why? I thought that was like weird.
I think
To
they,
make 100%, that's just to make a cool entrance. That's all that was.
and also
Yeah.
you could argue
Yeah.
like that, like there's an unidentified object flying through space at like the
then
speed.
aim one gun, not your entire
I
battery
think
of weapons.
because that could, like, with how fast she's flying, that could have been a missile.
But then only one gun is still gonna suffice to a missile though.
No,
Unless
because
you miss.
the guns
you
can
wanna-
miss when in missile defense. That's why we use like in real life.
Okay, but
for
still
missile
not your
defense.
full battery. You still don't need your full battery, regardless.
Missile defense in real life use like mini guns, which fire like 1,000 rounds per minute, and those don't fire 1,000 rounds per minute. So
No, but
I
they're way
think
better than
like
bigger than a minigun.
yeah, but still could miss. Even if you fire one at it and it misses multiple times, it missile hits. Like I just feel like they like didn't know what it was, so they're just like,
trying to neutralize it before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
A bigger problem than it is flying at them. So I think I actually
but
like
yeah,
Captain Marvel's
100% was
character
for
in
a
this.
cool entrance, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
It's a superhero movie.
It's a movie, right? It's like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like you just kind of accept some of those things for sure. I feel like your bias against Brie Larson's probably a big reason why you.
Oh yeah,
didn't
I'm sure. Yeah.
Captain Marvel in this, because I mean she's obviously, and I don't like it's whatever. I don't care either way, truthfully. She's definitely like, female power, like the embodiment of
Yeah.
it. And the
Yeah.
reason I think one of the reasons they just now did the movie was because like it was like the perfect time for it in terms of like the political climate. And then Brie Larson, obviously, I've watched like an interview or two, and I just like stayed away
She's-
from it to not develop a negative bias.
Yeah, because that's what she does. Is she's
yeah,
every movie she does, she always tries to push like that as a thing.
yeah.
And
And like, look, equality's cool. I'm not trying to hate on
Yeah.
none of that. So
I'm
don't-
not either. I'm just saying I don't need it.
Whoever watches this later or is watching it right now, don't think I'm anti like women. That's not the case.
I don't think anyone here is.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
no,
go and
yours.
post and like edit that so it says, whoever, for anyone here and anyone watching this,
I am
I'm anti-women.
Yeah. No, because I went with a friend of mine and I turned to her and I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, this is bullshit. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay, at
which-
least it's not me.
Which
Like,
that goes back to that scene, which I actually have written down in my extra thoughts. That scene where it was like they took the gauntlet from Spidey and it was like the only women Avengers.
Sure. I thought that was
I thought that was
too on the nose.
kind of weird and very forced. Like I'm
Yeah.
fine with women Avengers, but you don't need to like specifically show.
Yeah,
See,
I
so
think
what
it would have been a
about
more powerful scene with just like 3 or 4 of them too. Like not the
um,
whole.
it definitely like the second time, it felt a little more on the nose for me.
Yeah.
But the first time, it also felt like a small callback to um, Infinity War, where
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch and the General. I don't
And I
know her
love that
name.
scene.
I'm terrible
Yeah.
with her name. Like she's not
Okoye.
alone.
Okoye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Um,
terrible with
Yeah.
names. So
but
it's like a small callback to that, but then it's 100% on the nose, like women power moment.
and like
And you know
Mantis was
what?
Mantis. What is Mantis gonna do? Mantis was there. She came. What is she gonna do?
Yeah, that was weird too. I do. Yeah, I was like, why is she fighting? Like, she has no power.
And so
That was funny.
it's definitely an on those moment, but it's one of those things like I'm cool with it. Like
Yeah.
it's a cool little like
Oh, I don't hate that scene. I just thought it was
Yeah.
cheesy.
It's
and
what. Yeah, I
like,
thought it was.
on the
I
nose.
just. I just
It
felt
was
like
an eye roll moment. but that
I
other,
felt like it was forced. I like if
Yeah,
they would have just
sure.
had all the Avengers like show up, including the women and the guys, it would have been fine. But like, just like
Yeah.
trying to force this like statement is kind of weird.
Yeah. It was like, especially because
did
I
like
don't know.
to the Infinity War piece of it right there though. They say like the exact same lines, like
Oh, sure. Yeah.
you know she's not alone. You know she has
Yeah.
help or whatever. Like
Yeah, yeah. Which
And I
is
like that
just
scene from
fine.
Infinity War. I thought that
yeah, it's really
that
cool.
was a more powerful scene in Infinity War because it was organic, and I felt like this scene was more
Forced.
like
Yeah, I think the only problem I have with
It was
this scene
forced.
is it doesn't feel organic, especially like all of, like you haven't seen any of those three people next to each other,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden there's like six of them. You know what I mean?
And now
it's
they're
like,
best
oh,
friends.
all the women, which
Yeah,
is
that
kind of
was
weird
weird.
because like in Infinity War, like Scarlet Witch and oh gosh, what'd you say her name was?
Okoye or
The general?
Okoye.
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 You know, those two are fighting like side by side, and like right
Michonne.
before that scene, like she's been down there the whole time. You know, why she been up there the whole time? And like, so
Yeah.
it just like organically happens as a really cool moment. And, like, it is super cool to see that moment, and
Yeah.
like these three girls and fight another girl. Like it's four really powerful women right there, or whatever. So
Hell yeah.
Actually,
it's cool.
this
So-
made
Yeah, it
me
was
think. This made me think of that. And you said, none of the Avengers could 1v1 Thanos without the Infinity Gauntlet. I would come back with saying
No, Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet
could.
Witch.
She almost did.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
saying.
she was
And
this close.
I have a that's written down in my extra thoughts too. That or maybe on my next page. I loved that
Is she
scene.
the strongest Avenger?
Yes. Oh, she should be.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because like in the comics, she literally rewrites the reality single-handedly in
And
the
that
comics a lot
watching
of the time,
watch that like that scene with like he like she like lands and she's like, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't
I
even
have
know
no
who
idea
you
who
are.
you are.
You will.
Yeah, that was so good.
It's such a good moment. I like that.
I
a lot.
love that.
Women power. Just
Yeah.
and we're okay with it.
Yeah, like I think the only problem we have is it was forced and it was cliche.
It just there was
It was-
some on the nose feeling to it, but I brushed it off pretty quick. Like I said,
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
what-
sure.
It's
Yeah.
whatever. But
all the complaints we've had so far are very nitpicky.
I wonder if-
we
I wonder
really complained about.
I wonder
Thor
if
being
Brie
nerfed, so
Larson
it's not
pushed for
like-
that scene. Like these have to be all women.
I guarantee you she did. Like 100%. Especially because the more I learn, like the more I watch her in interviews, the more
It's like
she talks about every interview.
it's like
And
in
that-
in her contract, like there must be an only women Avengers scene, or I will not do this movie.
I'm sure. You know, it sounds ridiculous. I'm sure that exists in her contract.
um.
Don't know why.
Who knows?
She doesn't need it, but
Okay, so
no, I just found like I think she has the Superman problem without the like good qualities of Superman.
yeah,
It's like some people don't like Superman because Superman is
overpowered.
like he's super powerful, but like Superman has the thing where he's likable and he'll go out of his way to do good, whereas like Captain Marvel, at least the way they're portraying her right now, she is just stoic, stubborn, and arrogant, and so she doesn't have the likable qualities of Superman.
She
with
kind of
the
goes out of
same
her way to
sort
do
of
good
power.
though, because like the reason she wasn't
Does
like
she though?
the reason she wasn't there, like
well, not on screen, so that's a problem. We don't get to see.
yeah,
any of it,
but like the
Yeah.
reason
she
she wasn't
mentions like there are thousands of other
Yeah.
planets, and unfortunately, they don't have you.
But she does it in a condescending way, so it's also like it's weird, and it left a bad taste in my mouth because I was like, yeah, sure, like I get that there's other places, but we also have the Guardians on our side, we have Thor on our side. Like there are people that also deal with non-Earth threats here too. So why are you talking down to these people? Like it just felt weird. and
Yeah.
that was like in the very beginning, and so it already was kind of like sour in my mouth whenever she was on screen, because it felt like she was kind of like
Which wasn't
talking
very
down to
much,
like the
thankfully.
characters that we liked, you know.
Which wasn't very much, thankfully, because then she didn't get to steal the
Yeah,
show. And
sure.
I'm not saying thankfully because I dislike her as a character like Shaman does.
Right, it's just like I
just
was
didn't
talking
want
about
her to-
earlier. She hasn't.
Yeah.
Her character hasn't been on this 10-year journey of
Yeah.
the MCU.
And maybe she'll be better from like here on out, and
Yeah,
see
so
a little bit more
I'm
fleshed
really,
out.
I'm really curious to watch Captain Marvel 2, and I hope it's good because I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. Right now, her character is like very stubborn, very arrogant. Like, I'm more powerful than all of you. I'm just gonna go do it myself.
She actually says
Yeah.
that in interviews
Kind of
too,
valid.
like where she's like,
She
"Well,
does.
I'm the
She
strongest
does.
Avenger," and Thor like laughs at her too. He's like, "No, you're not. Nope." Which
And
that could just be
so-
them like messing with each other, but there's actually a
Yeah.
lot of videos on YouTube theorizing that the other Avengers don't like Brie Larson.
I mean,
Yeah.
go watch a few of the interviews, and you
Yeah.
can see why people think that. I don't know if it's true, but there are. It seems like maybe there is something, but
Some-
like I don't know.
some
I don't
truth.
think that that's
Um,
100%. I think that
One thing that I did, just going back really quick, you know how we were talking about Thor being with the Guardians of the Galaxy now? I
Yeah.
actually saw a theory, for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they might finally touch on that Adam Warlock scene from the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And
yeah,
now the Guardians have someone strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Adam Warlock. Or,
except for Adam Warlock is part of the Guardians in comic, so
yeah, I don't know. They said, the guy
But they have
said,
to beat him.
the
to,
guy
like-
said strong enough to
get him
fight
on their
Adam
side.
Warlock. I don't know. I don't know much about Adam Warlock. But that's what I was watching it from like a YouTube channel named like
Yeah.
Comic Book.
he's actually one of the original
so.
Guardians in the comics. So like,
Yeah, because I remember that was like one of the original theories. Like, oh, Adam Warlock. Now the Avengers might get
Yeah.
someone strong enough to like kind of fight Thanos.
Mm,
Because
mhm.
Adam Warlock
Yeah.
is apparently really strong.
He's very strong.
and
yes.
I don't know, is he like do with magic? I assume he does because of his name.
Nope.
Warlock. Okay.
No.
Guess not.
No. He's a traitor to the Nova Corps, which is why his name is Warlock. I'm assuming that's why they made his name
Mhm.
Warlock, because he betrays Nova Corps, because Nova Corps is a dickbag and he's not.
Yeah.
So
Either way, though, like now
yeah.
that Thor's with the Guardians, he might have some interactions with Adam Warlock.
True.
which-
And that would be really cool. I would like to see Adam Warlock. I would like to see that.
Maybe we see some cool fighting scenes with Warlock versus Thor / Guardians,
Yeah.
and then post that we see him betray
Yeah.
Nova Corps or something. That would be
Or
definitely
because
rough.
essentially more like come to his senses, because he's
Yeah.
also
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, originally maybe Nova Corps is like kind of telling him like, hey, these guys are the bad guys, you need to fight them.
Yeah.
And then like,
Kind of the same thing like with like the Captain Marvel storyline or similar.
or like
Yeah.
like when
Similar.
like when the Guardians met Iron Man on Titan or whatever. When
Ah.
they meet and they,
Am I supposed to say Jesus?
who's your leader or whatever? Who do you follow or whatever he
What
says?
bastard do you say?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Am I supposed to say Jesus?
I'll do you one better.
You're from Earth.
Why is Gamora?
So one thing I have to give the
so
entire MCU credit for is they've done such a good job of taking movies that like do have really high stakes and are very serious and like giving you those really good like breather comedy moments
yeah.
that don't feel forced. They feel very natural, very organic, and they're just perfect
Yeah.
almost always.
Tyler,
Oh,
this
yeah, I
podcast
agree.
is about Endgame, not the MCU. He's gonna
well
leave.
then I fucked up.
He's gonna leave.
See, I was just doing what the MCU do because
Yeah.
I'm inserting comedy in serious moments and high stakes
I-
moments.
So like a really good example, like a lot of other movies I've seen have tried to kind of imitate that in the last
Oh.
decade, basically. Like Star
Like-
Wars, The Last Jedi, is that the episode 8?
Yeah.
There's like the
Even DC is
openings kind of
Yeah, even DC tried,
comedic,
yeah.
like the openings kind of comedic and stuff, and like every
Yeah.
like all the
Mhm.
things they've done like just felt very out of place. Now I know Star Wars had like Han Solo's comedy moments in like the original
Sure.
3 episodes, but
Yeah.
it was very very like small, and like I
Yeah.
feel like what we see now is a lot of people trying to force comedy into these more serious movies.
Not realizing why it's effective.
Yeah, not doing it well.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah,
seeing the
exact-
they're
yeah.
seeing the success of these comic book movies, and they're just trying to
Yeah, they're
copy the
seeing-
formula in a different in a
Exactly.
place where it shouldn't be copied.
in ways that don't. It's like they don't understand the substance of those scenes and like why
Mhm.
that it works in it. So they're just doing like the
And
superficial base layer stuff
I would say
and not
Star Wars
understanding
has
why it's not working.
probably like done it a little, like better than some have, because like obviously Star Wars is owned by the mouse, so they
Sure, but the mouse doesn't actually really put his hand into either one of those too much.
I,
He
Yeah.
kind of lets
I
them
don't
go.
know. He came into into the end game and saved Ant-Man. So
I was
My-
like, "What are you talking
Mice
about?"
are
And
inside.
then
Rats are outside.
he 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 saved the
uh,
universe. He got
Oh my
Scott
God.
out of
I I laughed when that happened because my mind immediately was like, "Hey, it's Splinter," and then I was like, "Oh, that's actually the same universe." So uh, that would have
um
been because
um,
I guess
uh,
transitioning to back to topics.
sure. What do you got?
we got off topic? No way. That doesn't seem like us.
Nah, nah.
Cap and Iron Man's endings. How did you guys feel about those?
I loved both of them. I thought they were both beautiful, like send offs for both of those characters for very different reasons, but they were very well done and handled very well.
See, I came into the movie expecting it to be flip flopped. I
Agreed.
expected
I
Cap
agreed.
to die and Iron Man to retire. And like
Yeah.
in my mind, that makes the most sense. It's not that I dislike the endings; I like them.
Without time travel, that is the absolute one that makes no sense.
And the
Yeah.
reason to me that makes the most sense is because even outside of like the MCU, or Marvel or whatever, keeps Robert Downey Jr. on, like not as a full time, like every movie type of guy, but
I
like
like cameo character.
cameos and
And
Small scenes here and
also
there.
like
yeah.
then they can, if they really need something like made or something like that, they can go back and like they can bring.
No, because they introduced Shreya for that.
Yeah, I know, but
She fills that role.
yeah, now,
Yep.
but like I don't know. Obviously, it's just like you'd get callback scenes with
Oh,
him
sure.
doing
Yeah.
things and like
But so, do you think there's going to be a new Iron Man?
someday, I believe so.
You
And
think? You think?
I have two
So did you
candidates.
guys? So you, go ahead, Jordan.
My two candidates are the one you're thinking. I guarantee it is Morgan, um, Iron Man's daughter. Maybe in the future picks up the mantle, or Harley. Um, Harley being the kid at the
Oh
funeral.
yeah,
And he was at the
yeah.
funeral, which I
He
have that
was.
written
That's
down
true.
right here. Kid from Iron Man 3, Harley at the funeral.
Yeah. So
He
the
was.
random teenager you see, I don't know
That's
if you
Harley.
That's
who
Harley.
that
That's
was.
Harley. That's what we're
And the
talking about.
second viewing, I realized. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know if you knew or not, Shaven. Sorry. I was
And
yeah,
then
yeah. That was a
we're
good
all
one.
on the same page.
yeah, I
Yep.
actually I looked it up online too. I was like, who the frick is that guy?
Yeah.
Who the hell are you guys?
Um,
I kind of think that they may push it because we do see him work in the Iron Man suit
Yep.
and like
they kind of
and
set it up
maybe
in Iron Man 3 that he could maybe someday.
yeah.
And then he was at the funeral, which, so they brought him back like to say like this
Yeah, I'm
kid still
wondering
exists.
if he gets some stuff from Tony's will, and that's how you can.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
Like, first of all, so whatever
then-
they do with a future Iron Man mantle is, I just want the cold opening with the exact same audio from the end game post credit scene,
yes.
like him beating it, like whoever it is, Morgan or Harley or anyone,
them.
I don't care. Yeah, whichever one takes up the mantle is just like them beating the hammer on a piece of metal, and like it just pans out to them, and then like an Iron Man suit in the background with like a piece missing that they're like fixing or something. I think that would be a sick opening.
That would be good. That would be amazing. and now that you say that, anything less than that is going to be a disappointment.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Hire me. I need to write this piece. I need to write. That's all you need.
I'm not entirely sure they're actually going to replace Iron Man though.
Yeah.
I think they may retire the mantle of Iron Man after this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
and have
think
Morgan do it. Iron Woman.
Sure. I mean, I would be
You're
cool
bad.
if Morgan came.
Yeah, I
became
mean,
but I don't know if they're going to. I feel like they're definitely.
I feel like they put on
Um,
a lot of emphasis on her though, like especially at the end with like the happy scenes and stuff like that. It'd be weird if they just like never at least brought her
Yeah.
back in.
I don't think she's gonna be that. Like, I think she's gonna be important to like people, but I don't think she's going to be like the next Iron Man or whatever.
Yeah.
But we are gonna get a new Cap, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
well, we already know who that is.
Falcon.
Also, I have this written down in my extra thoughts.
I didn't get to tell you about how I thought about the endings yet.
Yeah, go for
no,
it. Fuck it.
Go ahead then.
I feel so left out. I'm just kidding.
Well, you left, so we forgot about you.
It's true. We did.
The Iron Man ending is perfect. Specifically going back to what I was saying about the fact that I Am Iron Man was originally an ad lib or whatever.
I mean, ad lib works.
Improv, whatever.
Yeah.
Improvised. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. Words are hard, okay? I don't know why you brought me onto a podcast. Especially since, like, that was improv, and it is, like, the moment that makes the MCU what it is. Going back to, like, people forcing comedy and all that. Iron Man is, like, what did that so perfectly.
Yeah,
and that moment's kind of the culmination of all that. Him ending with that, like, being his, like, last big quote, if you will, is like
he doesn't say anything after that.
He says, "Hey, Pep."
Does he?
Yeah, he talks to Pepper. He says like 3 words or something.
Oh, okay.
But that's just such a cool full circle moment, and like, there's no, like, you can't end his character any, like, there's no better way to do it. It's just not. Like, if anything was perfect, it is that.
Yeah, I agree.
The Captain America thing is awesome. I love it. If I leave the timeline problems that I think I have completely out of it, ignoring any time travel stuff, like, it's super cool. Super happy for him. Like, it's awesome. It's a perfect send off for him, because, like, realistically, going back to what you were saying, Jordan, I thought the opposite was going to happen. Like, when we see that Tony has a life now, you know, more than just like Pepper. Obviously, you said Pepper, but like, Cap has never had a life post Capsicle, right? He's just been a soldier, nothing else, or a leader of soldiers. You know, leader of the Avengers. Like, that's all he's been. You know, he's been nothing outside of that. So, like, I always thought, like, he has nothing to live for in this timeline, like, in this time anymore. Like, he would be the one to sacrifice himself, and, like, everybody wins, because he doesn't have to live with this, you know, pain of missing out on the love of his life, and he gets to save everyone else's futures.
Yeah.
But when you flip flop it, you know, when you introduce time travel and the idea that he can go back and get this life, like, there's no other way to end the character. Like, there's no those two endings are so perfect in terms of just, like, the character arcs. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and they even, like, hint at it when they go back, and, like, he sees her beyond the thing.
What I loved is, have you rewatched it, Shaman, or only watched it once?
I only watched it once. Yeah.
So when you rewatch, because I'm sure you will, I don't know if that'll be in theaters or on DVD later.
Yeah.
Bucky knows the whole time he's not coming back.
Oh yeah, that's very apparent. Yeah,
it's very apparent. But then, like, the small things, Sebastian, is that his name? The actor's name? He does just in that whole scene. Like, you can just, like, that scene is just so well done.
Yeah.
So
it's so well acted.
The dialogue's perfect. The acting's perfect. So, like, Cap saying "you bet," it's like you immediately know he's not coming back.
Oh yeah, like those two characters know each other so well that it's like, boom, they know what's happening.
You bet is like, no. You know, it's just like him saying no without just coming out and saying it, because, like, we know Captain America, like, if he planned on coming back, you know, it would have been like, you know, see you in a second or something, like, much like a much fuller sentence than
he would have said, like, don't worry, I'll bring it back with me. He said, you're taking all the stupid with you. If he was gonna come back, he would have been like,
I love that line. Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you.
Which is a perfect callback to is that the first Avenger?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in so long, but
because that's when it's Bucky's last night before he gets shipped out, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
And the lines are flipped, so
I also like that they actually had him bring, like, Mjolnir back to its original timeline. Like, they didn't just keep Mjolnir.
We don't know that.
Well, yeah, but
we assume
it's kind of implied when he dropped when they dropped the ether out back. Did he have to put the ether back into Natalie Portman? That's a real question.
Yes, he did.
that must have been awkward. Like,
can I get that as a movie? I want a movie of just Captain America going back in time and being
like a short film that they only release online.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's only got to be like 10 minutes long, just like 2 minute segments of each
Or
time he
like he
goes in
gives
there.
it to Thor's mom and she pops it back in or something would be
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
kind
That has to make a divide between Natalie Portman and Thor's mom. Like, I'm sorry, I have to
of.
inject you with this evil liquid.
Well,
I
the
mean, he's
mom
got
could
to
play
do.
it off as like, "Hey, this is something that's gonna run some tests real quick or something."
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
Who knows?
now that Sam or Falcon or whatever picked up the mantle, it is picking up the mantle of Captain America, right? Um,
Yep.
there's the show coming out. I'm pretty sure of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Is that going to
Mhm.
be now Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, and we don't know because they've been like structuring all the recent like movies
Shows.
too. So like we're probably gonna get a different slate of movies because Far From Home wasn't supposed to come out right after Endgame. It was supposed to come out later down the line. It was supposed to come out next year, um, like the end of next year. So they already have kind of like changed the slate around anyway.
Comes out in
And
like
so
June this year.
Yeah,
yeah,
it comes
and
out
so
this June.
so I think we're gonna get like a reshuffling of things. And I think part of that was like a smoke and mirror, so we didn't know what to expect
Uh,
from Endgame.
I wonder like if we're gonna get a little bit of information in like the post-credit scene of in Far From Home of what Phase 4 is gonna be at all. Because
Well, we know who the three main characters of Phase 4 is gonna be. It's gonna be Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Captain Marvel. So like they're the
and the
one.
Guardians.
But Guardians have always kind of like a side anything. Anyways, like they've
Yeah,
always
because
been like
they haven't collided until Infinity War, right? That's the only time
yeah,
that there's a crossover. Because they're so far away from Earth, it's just
yep.
like a yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but like
But we also got another mantle passed down that we haven't talked about yet, which is the leader of the Asgards,
yeah,
which is kind
Yeah,
of with
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
That's really cool too.
I feel like
I thought it like
I
at first I was like that's weird. That's kind of came out of nowhere because like we hadn't seen her be any sort of leader.
But what you've been doing this last 5 years, right?
right, and that's I had to think back and like oh wait, she's been like that's what she's been doing for the past 5 years.
I,
I think they didn't show it very well, um, but
That's
I
one of
love
those
that
things.
character, so
Like,
I wanna see her more.
it's a 3 hour movie already. We can't
Yeah,
really,
I
yeah.
feel like if
And
they um do any stories with the Asgardians now, they might do like a TV show with the Asgardians now. Like since there's
ooh, yeah. If with her as the lead, like
yeah,
Valkyrie
yeah,
is the
because they
lead,
have the
I
Disney
would,
Plus
yeah,
streaming, which is where everything's gonna go. I'm sure.
yeah.
All the
yeah,
I
TV
just
show
feel
stuff.
like if you're gonna do stories with them, since it like obviously Valkyrie's a main character, but like
yeah,
she isn't like a huge name like these other ones. Like a TV show would probably do it better justice, and like you could see them
yeah,
building up Asgard again because she says that at the end where
Yeah,
she's like,
I'm gonna make
yeah.
some
We're gonna build up
yeah,
changes.
I'm gonna
Asgard.
make some changes
Yeah,
around here.
changes around here.
So you could see her like building up Asgard throughout like a
Hmm.
couple seasons of a TV show rather than like a 2 hour
Which would be,
movie.
I would totally watch that because I love her, like she's great.
Yeah,
And then
I think
we'd
so.
also get to see like
Korg
Korg and
uh,
yeah, whatever the
I'm
squid.
cool. This is me.
Yeah, me.
We're gonna go to the ship over here. You wanna?
Thor, this mean guy's on Fortnite again. Give me it. I will fly over there and rip your arms up and shove them up your butt. Don't go cry to your dad.
As like cringy as it was pretty funny. Like it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that was a great scene.
All right, and that's all my notes from my first showing.
Are we gonna
Yeah, I
talk about the timeline?
Yes.
Now we can talk about the
So,
timeline. Let's do
yeah.
it.
Okay, we kind of addressed everything because this could go on a little bit.
Oh, it's going
I'm
to.
struggling.
Our normal
with,
podcasts are
with-
2 hours plus. So
Yeah.
How long are we in right now?
Hour and a half.
Oh, not
Right.
bad.
yeah,
been
and my other
live an
notes are.
hour,
I don't
so-
have very many notes for the other
Okay.
showing.
So basically, there's the multiple realities theory or multiverse theory that kind of backs like the Reddit post you were talking about, Jordan, where
I'll
like
show
they've
Jamie.
created multiple timelines, right? But then like what Shane was talking about, what I feel like the movie talks about is one linear timeline, right? It's kind of like what the ancient one shows.
Yeah.
But just because it's a linear timeline doesn't mean time is going forward that whole time. If that makes sense. So what
there's
happened on a linear timeline is you have 1950 to 2023, and then they go back in time. So now from this point, like off screen here because you can't see me anymore, it's like 20. It's like back to 19. It goes like 2012, then 2014, and then 1970, and then 2023 again. Right.
Mhm.
My problem with that is, I guess you have to work that out as an idea of each character has their own timeline. So then Cap's timeline is all of that, then 2023 again, and then 1945 again, all the way back up to 2023. Is that how you explain that out? Do you get what I'm saying? Because like my problem is it all makes sense. These events happen, linearly, like because even the H1 says it's the way we experience the flow of time. It doesn't say that's how time works.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that like the way Professor Hulk kind of explains it is like time occurs on a line, but that doesn't mean it occurs like sequentially as we think of it, year by year.
Yeah.
1950 can repeat itself because we go back. Like 1950 becomes our present because we've gone back to that moment, like he's talking
But
about.
the things that we do aren't going to change things that happened in our past. Like that's basically what it boils down to. Like
It's not the Back to the Future where like I can't go back and kill my grandpa and cease to exist.
Yeah. No, if you did, nothing would have changed.
Right.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a really
Don Cheadle.
So my problem with that is
they're like,
that idea is a multiverse theory then, because if I go back in time now in that new timeline that branches off from that, let's say I go back and kill my grandpa in 1950 just as an
you're gonna
arbitrary
kill your
year.
grandpa? What the
No,
fuck?
I would never do that. I would never do that. In order for the timeline to, like, what happens to that, like the timeline where my grandpa's dead? Does it cease to exist? Does it
doesn't
continue on
exist.
as an alternate timeline?
It's not a new timeline. It's a portion of time that exists for you. It's not like a.
Okay.
I forget. There's a theory.
For no one else. It just exists for me.
Yeah.
So each person has their own timeline then.
Yeah, and this is not like a new theory that Marvel made up.
No, I know that. So I'm trying to verify. Because my problem is everything is explained away by the idea that like when they go put the time stones back, all of these like branches that would have been created are automatically erased.
Yeah, they're erased when the when the stones go back into.
But our characters still experience them in their timeline
until that universe gets collapsed, and then when that universe collapsed, that means that you're not getting new memories, you're not getting new events in your life. Like everything recorrects itself, and so like those.
So with that logic, this is where my problem comes from. With that logic, when we go back and bring the stones to the future, you have the huge battle with Thanos. If that time corrects itself, Thanos is somehow resurrected back in that past.
No, because it doesn't change anything that happened. Nothing has actually changed because time never stopped proceeding. We just it's weird because we can't perceive it the way that they're trying to say that it happens.
Right.
Which is like those are not technically the past. Like those when we go back in time to like revisit all the things, we're not actually going back in time. We're bringing the past to us for that brief moment.
Okay.
And so like technically speaking, nothing is being altered.
So then what we're kind of doing is making a copy of the past and bringing it to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Essentially. Essentially.
Yeah. Okay, because that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That explains all my problems away. So then, I know they never say this, right? But Peggy's husband could still not be 2023 Steve. It could be like another guy that he actually saved. That's what happens in the original 1945 or whatever year, right?
Right.
And then we come in, and what Captain America does is make a copy of that, brings it to his timeline, and lives that out, where she never gets married to. She gets married to him instead.
Yeah, and he then ends up where we see him at the end of the movie.
Correct. Which support, because like a lot of people were trying to make it a reality A, reality B type situation where there's two timelines. And
sure.
And I was like, that's not what the movie said.
Yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
reading a bunch of like theories, like, oh, it actually makes a lot of sense, and then no one explained it properly.
The interesting
like-
thing too is he never says it's Carter. Like he's like, "You
He
want to tell me
does,
about it?" And he goes, "No, I'm not going to."
but you do see him dance with her.
We do see that. We see their last dance. Does that mean they end up together? We don't know.
It's kind of implied, but
It is. Yeah, I agree. It's implied.
Because like another thing people were saying is like, they never named Peggy's actual husband, so it actually is Steve because you never see a picture
Yeah.
of him. But
Yeah.
that actually breaks down their whole idea of time travel. Like, is like
Yes.
see,
it
the
messes everything up.
Not
Well,
necessarily. Like, yeah,
it
I could.
does because then like
Yeah.
like it doesn't mess up the Captain America timeline. It works for that timeline,
Yeah.
but it messes up Thanos coming to the future and us killing him, and then that actually mattering. Like messes up those pieces. Like that, those start to really break down.
see,
But what you're saying, if you're just bringing a copy of the past to now,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
see the way
And then he's experiencing that, and so like nothing effectively changes. I mean, he's still going through time, and so
Right.
yeah, it's weird, but yeah.
See, the way I see it is that, like, the Ancient One was specifically talking about if you take time stones, or, like, if you specifically was talking about if you take Infinity Stones out, not as time travel as a whole. So, like, if you take an Infinity Stone out and then it creates a branch, and then if
It
you
creates
replace
a doomed.
yeah, a branch that's doomed. She said
Yeah.
So then,
branches off. That's because that no, because like my reasoning for like if you take the time stone out, she says we no longer have our greatest weapon against the forces of evil or whatever. Like when she's talking, so that universe just no longer has the time stone for her to use against the forces of
and they're
evil
now doomed
because
to get Dormammu win.
Yeah.
um
There's no
but
bargaining.
and then they replace it, and then that branch or whatever goes away. But I took it as her just talking about Infinity Stones, like secluded from time travel. Like
Sort of. What she's talking about there is that because the way the Infinity Stones exist, that they're the only thing that can effectively create reality. Like they're.
but our
what
universe,
is
our reality no longer has the Infinity Stones.
right. That's a problem. Like that's going to be the next set. Like because
See,
that's
I don't think our reality no longer has Infinity Stones. They're just not gatherable. They still exist.
oh sure.
He
Yeah,
broke
they
them
still
down into
exist.
atoms. So like he
Yeah.
he didn't break reality in the flow of time because they
Yeah.
still exist. They're just so small, like it would be impossible for anyone to get them back.
But
He essentially re-put them in the universe as opposed to being like actual stone.
yeah.
Mm.
But I just feel like, so she was specifically talking about Infinity Stones. That's what I feel like, and I if they might go like Marvel or Kevin Feige might clear this up so everyone is on the same page.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
I feel like she was specifically talking about Infinity Stones, and then time travel itself can create different universes. That's how I feel.
So it can create different like alternate realities, but that doesn't matter because they're not doomed realities. They're just different.
Yeah.
Right. So
and that is
is
possible.
Yeah, that could totally be something they come out and say.
And then
I think the way it's best explained in the movie is kind of what Shaman's talking about. That's really what Hulk basically says. Like a copy of isn't necessarily isn't 100% accurate, but it's like the best way I can put it.
See, but
to make it make sense.
Having time travel create different realities would work with Hulks too, and that's why like doing stuff to your past self doesn't affect your present, because like when you go to the past, it creates a branch that when you kill your past self, in that branch you die, but in your current branch you lived.
Except for in that theory of time, there is only one actual timeline. There is no like the branches of time, as we're calling them. They are not. They're essentially like this big. Like they don't actually happen. They only happen for the person experiencing them. And so but they all converge. There's never like multiple threads running at the same time. There will always only ever be one thread.
Yeah, but like I think it's a different theory of time than that one is what I'm saying.
Right, and it could be but that's the one that Hulk's talking about. That's that theory. There is only ever one timeline.
And then that's why I think like at least this makes sense to me, which I could be totally wrong, which is fine. But like in our timeline, Captain America stayed normal, like when he or Capsicle or whatever, and then Peggy married who she ended up marrying, And then when he went back in time, he created another like timeline that runs adjacent, and he married her. And then when she died in that timeline, he kept his like his suit and his watch, and then came back to our timeline just to pass on the mantle of Captain America. Is what I think happened, but
I mean, you're kind of saying what I was saying, which is like he created a pocket of time
yeah, but I think
that
that
he
like
experienced.
that entire
But
branch still exists. Like I think it was a whole new like another timeline that like runs adjacent to ours. That everything is like similar, but like small things are different. And that's the one that Captain went back to, lived for
but
80
then how would
years
he
and or
be
whatever.
back in ours?
He still had his watch and the suit. That so when his once Peggy died
But
in that timeline, what?
but the suit the like the suit and like the ability for him to go through time requires that device.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the watch he's talking about, I think.
no,
Right.
Yeah, the watch
Chayman's
only
saying
allows.
that's like the GPS. He's saying they need the
Yeah,
like the tunnel or whatever to go into
you
the
need the tunnel. Yeah,
which I mean there could have been one made like in that timeline, like Thanos and stuff still exists, right? So like they just did like someone else like
So
Iron
basically,
Man and
you
all them
create an
still.
alternate reality that now runs 70 years behind our current one.
Or like
So
they don't like
he lives out with Peggy. Thanos still makes the snap. They then go through the future. They do all of these things. Like my problem is that starts creating infinite timelines.
yeah,
Where so
it
like
does.
right. So if you think of it this way, is I guess maybe not, but like it kind of has to. I don't know. So Cap lives out with Peggy.
Yep.
All the Avengers stuff still happens, but I guess he's old at that point, so he doesn't get to fight that. I don't know. But if he
Yep.
doesn't get to fight it, does he then show up and do the whole, like ask Tony to come help him, and then Tony figures out
Yeah,
time travel, and
maybe in that
then
timeline Thanos wins.
yeah, but then my problem is if he's in an alternate timeline, he could never get back to ours unless
Right,
he has a
exactly.
quantum.
Yeah,
And if Thanos wins and Tony doesn't make, and like they never come back to Tony with the
someone else could have solved it
timeline
too though.
idea, then well, yeah, but I think that's just a lot
Maybe
of
Shuri
what
solved it
ifs
in that
that
timeline. Yeah,
like, that's
it
a ton
is.
of what ifs that they would not explain on screen at all. Which
Yeah,
doesn't make
I
sense
don't
with
think it
the theory
ever.
they're
I
telling.
don't think that like entirety would ever will get explained. But like them just coming out and being like, "Hey, this is how the time," and that's just like what makes sense to me. It could easily be like
Mhm.
the way that, and also there's the big hole of like, well, if it does make alternate timelines, technically in our MCU, like the timeline one, let's just call it or whatever, timeline A, they could go
Mhm.
into timeline fucking a million
Z.
and grab a new Iron Man and bring him to ours and be like, "Hey, you're ours now."
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it does have that, but like, that's just how. And like I said, I might be wrong, which is fine. I'm just saying that's how I kind of understood it.
But I just don't feel like that's how Hulk explains it. Like he
Yeah,
explains
but
it
I just don't know if I don't know. I feel like they can be wrong.
Yeah. I always kind of took it that there is only ever one set of Infinity Stones, and they're essentially what
Right.
binds the universe as being a single universe. And so then the only reason that new timelines were created was because you took one of those Infinity Stones out. And so like that the fact that you have altered, you know, the combination of the Infinity Stones is what creates the other timeline,
Right.
because that seems to be like the whole thing.
But like sequentially, like Bruce is talking about, if you return the stones to the moment they were taken, which is what they did, presumably what
Right.
Cap did,
Yeah.
right? Then all those branches cease to exist.
Yeah.
So like it's really like the stones never left that reality.
Yeah. So then you
So
don't
then
have
it has to be like, like the only thing that really works, which it's not even the right way to word it. I don't know how better to do it. Is like the thing, like the idea, like Shane and I were talking about, where it's the single timeline, and you have 1950 twice on that timeline.
essentially,
And
yeah.
1950
Yeah.
Part 2 is slightly different than 1950 Part 1, but it's still 1950.
Yeah, which could be.
Like,
I don't know.
But
and
it's also 1950 that only exists for Captain America,
yeah.
which is
So
also
it's
weird.
like
Yeah.
it is like, first of all, time travel
It's time travel.
breaks all the laws of physics that we know. So
Yeah.
um, it's really hard to.
All right. We're at actually about like an hour and 45 right now because we did have that like 15 minutes of where it was just like stream
Mhm.
starting soon.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think I'm just gonna like quick fire with some of the cool things I thought.
Uh-oh.
I in my second showing, I really like. I didn't enjoy, but I thought it was Iron Man actually foreshadows his death, which I thought was like in my first viewing I didn't really
Yep.
think about it, but in the second viewing you hear Iron Man say, "Let's do this and maybe not die trying," which is I guess a normal thing to say,
Mhm.
but he's the only one that talks about death and he's the one that dies, and I was like, "Oh, he foreshadowed it. I'm sad now."
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
mean, yeah, they do that a couple of times by like him falling asleep at the beginning of the movie and like
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, here's a big thing. I actually asked this to Tyler the other day.
Big ass bug.
I actually said this to Tyler the other day, and I want to get what your take on is, Shaman. How did
Okay.
old Nebula bring evil Nebula bring
It's a plot.
old Thanos to the future?
What do you mean?
Because so
They don't have enough pin particles.
you know
to do it.
when good Nebula, our Nebula, is captured by Thanos, right?
Yep.
She takes his Pym particles
Uh-huh.
and then goes to the future with those.
Uh-huh.
What Pym particles did she use to bring Thanos to the present?
She brought the spaceship. She miniaturized the spaceship.
No, it comes through the portal.
Okay.
Yeah, but how
But
did
they show it tiny.
Yeah, but how did she like? They only had enough Pym particles for one round trip.
How do they shrink the spaceship and her?
One person there and one person back. How did they shrink the spaceship and her?
No, I think it's weird, but like you see that she has a miniaturized version of the ship on her, and so when they come out of it, she releases it,
No, because
and so
like
that's what comes out.
yeah, but like she goes back to the machine and like sticks her like fingers
Relaunches,
into
like,
it,
recodes.
Yeah, I mean,
and
yeah.
then brings
It-
the spaceship from the past. Is what happens.
I mean, Thanos could have Pym particles. We don't know. Who knows? Like
Yeah, but
we don't know his tech.
I mean, if he could time
he
travel,
could have had the tech to recreate the pin particles.
I think that's what it was.
That-
It's like
that
he
would
just
have to be the explanation.
recreated the Pym particles.
He wouldn't have pin particles. I don't think.
No,
Because you
I
don't
think
see
he
him
would
use
just.
anything like that. He would just have the technology to like clone like.
I feel like that might have taken some
Yeah.
time though, right?
We don't know how long it was, and that's the other thing.
Yeah,
like we
but-
don't know how.
Yeah, it could take him 3 years to clone it, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter because he can just come out at that exact moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but I just thought that was
So,
weird.
But yeah, I realistically I think it's just a plot hole.
Yeah, and
You could
yeah.
explain away by saying, well, he has this cloning device on a ship that can instantly clone something that you stick in there, which is crazy and like an OP object.
he
Don't
should-
get me wrong.
He should have just made
But, like,
infinite numbers of power stones then and give them to every one of his soldiers.
well, yeah, but
But
like,
we do know that he has like he is like very advanced technology, so like it's not out of the ballpark to say that he has the ability to replicate something he.
Yeah,
You know, he-
now the Infinity Stones I think would be like
Yeah, I
something
know,
that's
it was a joke.
irreplicable.
It,
Who knows?
Yeah.
I still just thought it was weird that like they like put so much emphasis on only one
With-
round trip.
with
Yeah.
Well, I think that was just to make the stakes high, right? So zero extra explanation. It's a plot hole.
Yeah, no, agreed.
And I
Okay.
was just I
But
was sitting in
that's
my
something that the Russo brothers could easily just say.
I was sitting in my second viewing and I was just like, how the fuck did he come from?
Yeah.
This don't make no sense.
And then I wrote down I loved the activate instant kill moment with Spider-Man. I thought that was a great
was good.
callback. At
Why
first
is
he's
this
like,
yeah.
at first he's like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, and then
I
like
got
he
this.
starts piling on. I'm not okay, I'm not okay.
That was a good scene. I like that. I agree.
I think I wrote this specifically down was the I am inevitable by Thanos and I am
Yep.
Iron Man was
So good.
that up there with
So
that
good.
up there with the Avengers Assemble, which I have that underlined right here too. And finally
so
got
good.
the Avengers
Yeah.
Assemble,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
then the portals bringing pretty much every MCU character ever to
No, literally.
the fight.
Yeah. Even Howard the Duck was in there.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
I
he was
also
there.
I thought it was weird that they for the most of the fight Doctor Strange was fighting a lake. That was kind of interesting.
That was funny. That was funny. I was like, I mean, I guess he's the only one who could fight the lake, so sure, why not?
He could
But
add
It
like
is like a fuck ton of water.
The-
So like it's
Yeah.
not like super
It-
powerful.
yeah, like it's definitely like a thing that someone had to do it.
Yeah.
Why not have it be Doctor?
Yeah.
Ant-Man killing the Leviathan was super cool.
When he
Yeah,
just
just the
punched
punch.
it.
Yeah, that was
That was
awesome.
that was good. Yeah.
Cap being worthy about Mjolnir, we talked about a little bit already, and that was
Yep.
that
Yeah.
was one of the cheer moments in my first showing. Talked about that
Yeah.
already. Talked about that. Talked about that, even though you guys disagreed with me. It's okay.
About what?
I said no, too much filler
Oh.
switch for character
Oh,
building.
sure.
And obviously I clarified saying like not really filler. It was more of just like I would rather had other things, but
Yeah, I
because
got
there
you.
was
I'm on
nothing.
your page. It was just an easy, quick way to write the note. I'm on your page.
Yeah. I got it.
We're not judging
It
you.
would have been kind of cool if for the final battle like Tony made Cap a suit, like not like a full-on Iron Man suit, but like
Oh, sure.
a different suit, because he references like that suit doesn't do much for your ass or whatever. So it would have been cool if you like gave him like
Like
maybe
a-
a little bit more
like
advanced.
a Spider-Man type
Yeah,
suit.
maybe a little bit more advanced, and then like that is the final suit we see him in. So it would have just been kind of, I don't know if comic book wise if he ever gets a suit from Tony Stark, but it just would have been cool.
As far as I can remember, I don't think we've ever seen Cap in an Iron Man suit.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like full on like Iron Man, but it would just like some advancements would have been cool.
Well, in the comics, if there is a suit, it's an Iron.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
yeah.
they don't ever try to like not make it an Iron Man suit in the comics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think like definitely like Peter Parker and like the Iron Spider in the MCU is very different than the Iron Spider that we see in the comics, and for good reasons. I
All
think
right.
it'll look super cheesy.
So to close our Endgame talk, and then Tyler and I can talk a little bit about the new Game of Thrones episode.
We don't have to talk about it. Well,
No,
we can. I
no,
don't
we'll
care
talk a
either way.
little bit. It's fine. I mean,
Okay.
I don't care how long we go. If people, it's gonna go on YouTube.
Yeah.
If people don't want to watch the entire thing, it's on
That's
them.
fine. True. Good point.
I'll just leave you guys alone.
Well, you can listen.
I will have nothing to say. It'll just be me going.
That's fine.
fine.
We just want your presence, okay, Shaman. In closing, give like if you can describe the movie in like 5 words or less.
In 5 words or less.
I didn't even get to talk about like what my favorite moments were.
Well, fine. Talk about your favorite moments. I'm sorry.
I hate this podcast. I'm just kidding.
Talk.
No, I just we kind of hit a couple of those points, but I am a sucker for like when I talk about really cool like full circle moments. So
yeah.
On your left when Sam's coming.
Oh yeah,
out of the thing,
that's like the bringing the
freaking awesome,
Yeah.
right?
When Black Panther calls Clint by his name. That's really subtle, but that happens. When Black Panther shows up, he goes, Clint, hi.
Oh.
It's
He
super
does.
quick. Yeah.
You're right.
That was good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The hug between Peter Parker and Tony was such a good moment.
This is nice.
Such
Yeah.
a good moment.
This is nice.
But yeah, I get
Yeah, that-
goosebumps when like
Yeah.
both times when the entire like MCU got brought to the battle. It was goosebumps.
Seeing Valkyrie on the Pegasus like flying in a battle
sick.
was so dope.
So sick.
Yeah. Like, I was like,
So
oh,
many-
I get why she's like the best now. Like this is clearly like super cool.
Super cool scene. And a good callback is Tony saying everything's gonna be all right to his dad.
Yeah.
Because in the opening of Age of Ultron, I think it's like the second scene actually, it's not the opening.
Yeah.
He's demoing those like glasses that make memories or whatever. You can view memories.
Yep.
And he says, "Everything's gonna be all right, Dad." And then like because it's like that's what I wish I would have said because that's like the last.
I saw
Or
someone.
is that? That's Civil War actually, not. Age
Yeah,
of-
it's the
my bad.
I saw
Whatever,
someone saying that they wish Tony like his last words would have been "I don't feel so good."
I would have been pissed.
Yeah, I would have been pissed too. Not gonna lie. Iron Man is the perfect.
No, like his like when he's like against the wall with like Spider-Man in his face. Like Spider-Man gets it like he's like one of the first people like to him when he's like sitting against the wall. He could have like looked at the kid and just been like, I don't
I
feel
think
so
so.
good, Peter, or something like that. Just and then like done his like little Iron Man laugh. Like
No, I think that would have been out of
yeah,
character and
a little too on the nose too. I think
yeah,
maybe I'm being
I
been
mean, there
cheesy
was
and
other
not in like
there
a
was
good way.
there was other iron on the nose things in this movie that they did. So,
for sure.
But we don't
but
like those.
I know.
but that
I would've
1970s
laughed,
callback
so.
was like an underrated one that I like. Like I heard it, I was like, like my heart,
Oh,
my
yeah.
can't handle all these emotions.
Yep.
Which one?
Um,
Are you talking about
when
Stanley?
they're in 1970, when Tony's talking to his
Oh, I
dad,
thought you were saying
the last
Stanley.
thing he
Yeah.
says before,
Yeah. I heard.
Howard walks off.
I thought you were
Yeah.
saying it different.
I'm trying to think of any other moments.
Didn't like the Fortnite
One thing
part?
I love. I don't care about Fortnite, so
I thought that was
one
fun.
thing
Yeah, it was funny.
like. It's the perfect hype. Like cadence is the E Bombay from the
E-Bombay.
Wakandans. It's like
Yeah.
That was good.
so good. Like and like it's not even a callback or anything. Like obviously they said Infinity War 2, but it's just like the perfect cadence to like lead into these awesome battle scenes they did in the last two movies. Like that moment,
Yeah.
those moments are just really cool for me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I think, without a doubt, my favorite moment is Cap catching the hammer or
Yeah.
buckling down the half shield.
Yeah.
Either one of those has to be like
For me, it's the hammer, and then watching him fight with Mjolnir was so badass.
sick.
Oh yeah.
Like, and he did it
Sick.
effortless too. It was like don't, just like
Yeah, he would
There
like
was
throw his shield and then Mjolnir into the shield to make it like fly faster. Like
do that. Well, no, he would do it so it did the clap
yeah.
like that. Him and Thor did, and
But he would do it by himself. Yeah,
he did it by himself. It was really good. That was sweet. That was
So
pretty sweet. And then when they swapped, when he had
that was,
the
that
axe,
was a good little like.
no, you get the small one.
So like that goes back to my point earlier. Like Marvel does so well with just those. Like we're in the heat of this huge battle. I couldn't tell you another movie that's pulled off anything like that
Yeah.
where it's like this hilarious, not crazy funny, but like
Lord of the
this
Rings.
perfect funny moment where it's like
Lord of the
no,
Rings.
you take the little one and they swap. Like it's just
That still only counts as one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
that's pretty good too.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but like outside of that, like can you think of another battle scene like that where like you've had comedy happen and it didn't just ruin the moment? I don't know.
Shall I get you
Not
a box?
really. Yeah. There you go. I mean,
Still
Wait,
Lord of the
what?
Rings. It's
Still
still
Lord of the
it was the second movie in Lord of the Rings when Legolas and fucking
on the wall.
are on the wall and Gimli's like, I can't see what's going on. Shall I get you a box?
Yeah.
It is really hard to do that, and Marvel's just done it so well for a decade. So
Yeah,
that was awesome.
they've got it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They've got a good
Those
team of
are-
writers too. So
those are some of my top moments. I really just wanted to hit on all of them because they make me feel.
Chayman, any of your top moments? I don't want to make you feel left out too, like my snowflake of a friend here.
I mean, we've said most of my favorite moments.
All right.
So
So going back to the 5 words or less to describe this movie. And I already have mine written down. That's why I wanted to do this.
okay.
Do we get to hear you first?
No, you don't.
Yeah, I don't really have one.
Fine,
I
I'll
don't
say
think I could-
mine.
I know yours are.
I could
am.
never describe it in 5 because I would just keep talking.
I
You
love
have 4 words.
this
ahead.
movie 3000.
You know what? That's a good one. That's good. Well, I don't think there's a better way to end it on that. Like,
It's 6 words,
shut up.
but no. What I'm about to say is.
What? No, because 3000 is in the number.
No,
of-
he's about to say.
Oh,
seven.
I see what you're saying.
I'm about to say. I don't really think it works as if like. Nah, it doesn't work. I'm trying to think. Let me think. Give me a moment. Give me a moment to consider. 5 words.
I was waiting
5
for him
words.
to say
is
I
what
am
we're doing?
Iron Man.
I was actually gonna say I can do this all day, but that isn't really it.
You can watch it all day.
I could, but
Yeah, I mean, Doctor Strange did it. He watched it 42 million times or whatever.
technically he only
Yeah.
watched Endgame once. He just watched 14 million other outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
sure.
mean, I guarantee a lot of those outcomes were very similar up
Very
until
sim-
one.
But they're not the same.
Yeah, but
They're not the same.
he watched the movie multiple times. It's just one thing changed.
I'd just say full circle. I just leave it at that.
I just wanted to say I love this movie 3000. So that's
Yeah,
all.
no,
Yeah.
I mean I think that's the best way you could ever describe that movie is.
Mhm.
I love this movie 3000. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, then.
Has to be like, obviously going into slightly more detail. Like I said, objectively, I probably give it like an 8 to an 8.5, but with like some very minor insignificant changes, I don't know how you make a better movie to wrap up 21 others.
Well,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I don't know how you do
I
it.
gave it
you
a
know what I mean?
9.5. Like for me, because not because I think like these things I dislike should be changed, just because I don't ever give anything a perfect score because obviously something
Yeah,
could
I
have been
think
changed. But
with the better explanation of time travel and like me kind of like grasping it a little bit better, it definitely bumps up into the 9.5 range for me. I've never given a movie a 10 out of 10 though, because there's always a problem. Like
yeah,
there's always things,
yeah,
you know what I
some
mean?
movies.
It's hard for me to just say 10 out. Like 9.5 is the best score you're ever
even
gonna
on
get from
like
me.
self-scoring things in like class, I don't give my like self a 10 out of 10
Yeah.
because I could have
Yeah.
done something differently. But a 9.5 for this movie is great. Like it was amazing. So yeah, I think
I agree. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll leave you guys to go talk about your Game of
we don't
Thrones nonsense
we
for
don't need to
however
do it.
long
It's
you
fine.
want to do it.
We can end the podcast there. I think that'll
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to do, I don't care.
I think that'll probably
We
be.
could do like, we could do a season wrap up on Game of Thrones if you wanted at some point.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
Why don't you watch Game of Thrones, Shaman?
Meh.